Hi, this is Michelle Fife, creator of Cobra, and you're listening to 11 O'Clock Comics.
Oh, there was a neat little exhaust noise at the end of that I'm leaving it in. I'm hoping that the echo captures it, because that'll be super cool.
That'd be hot.
I love stuff like that, yes. Tony was all apologetic last week about his dog breathing and the chain and stuff. I was like, no, that's fine.
Damn.
Like tapping and shit is not good.
This has come a long way since Onyx knowing at the bottom of a microphone stand. I was like, oh, it's Tony? Yeah, don't worry about it. The dog's fine.
I got nothing. But you definitely have something in your ears. This is 11 O'Clock Comics, episode 882. And I'm Vince B.
You are Vince B. Squeaky. I am David A. Price.
I need a new chair.
This is true. And, of course, I am Optimus Primal.
Oh, you saw it?
I saw it in the theater.
So did we. Oh, well, we saw it last weekend.
But I watched it yesterday. I rewatched it.
I'm the odd man out. I didn't see it.
No,
well, it's on Paramount Plus now.
Oh, yeah. Excellent. Maybe after we record, I'll watch it.
Dude, I fucking love it. Like, I went to see it in theater and liked it a lot. I watched it again yesterday, and I thought it was phenomenal. I think it's phenomenal.
I hear good things.
I was in the kitchen watching it on the little Google display while I was working on dinner on Thursday, and I was really enjoying it. And I'm like, you know what? There are certain things in here I think Renee will dig, and so we watched it Saturday evening, and she had a huge kick out of it. I was so happy.
It's got a little sazon, a little flavor.
Yes,
it's got a little hood to it. It's got the hip hop vibe. It's nice. It's I like it.
We'll see,
baby.
We'll see. Yeah. The Maximals have never been my favorites.
Same. I actually thought when they announced it, because the last few Transformers movies weren't that good, right? I thought, I'm like, man, it's even further away from anything I'm interested in. But it was one of those movies I think we just we're looking to go see it, and I have almost no exposure to the Beast Wars cartoons or comics, so I don't know much about them, so I don't know how different they are in this movie than they're presented in the comics, but I thought they fit in well here. I mean, no different than the Dinobots. Like, the way they explained their existence made sense, and they were all distinctive and really good voice actors, and yeah, I liked it. And the main characters are still Optimus and Bumblebee and Mirage. I mean, it's the beasts are not like
they're there, but they're not front and center.
Yeah.
Now, I still haven't seen Bumblebee. How does that rate next to it?
I liked Bumblebee for what it was. I mean, that was much more of a to me, that movie was much more about what's her name? Hawkeye. What's her name?
Was it Haley?
Haley. Like, it's more of like, I mean. Like, yes, it's a Transformers movie, but that was, to me, more of a it was about the human actors. Whereas I think this is this was much more about the, to me, this was much more of a Transformers movie. I mean, Unicron's in it. It was fucking great. Unicron.
It was great. It was great.
It's not a spoiler, dude. I mean, it's Unicron's in the opening scene. Like, it's not like.
Well, I've never seen the opening scene.
All right, it's in the trailers too. Sorry for spoiling it.
No, I know he's in the trailers. I know it's in the trailers. And you know what? You want to get some Transformers graphic novels? You just go right to cheapgraphicnovels.com. Cheapgraphicnovels.com, right there in the name. Omnibus edition, graphic novels, collected editions, manga. They have it all.
My guy had a killer Black Friday, Cyber Monday sale going on too.
Yes, I partook.
I know you did. Yeah.
And you can too. Just go over there and buy something, and you will get an email confirmation. You're going to reply to that email confirmation saying 11 O'Clock Comics sent me, and then you'll get free shipping on your second order. I hope Tony talked to him, because Tony had a good idea. Tony's like, why don't you just get a code? I made like the old man. I said, I don't know, because Max didn't give us a code. But in lieu of a code, just do what I tell you to do. Go to cheapgraphicnovels.com and you will save massively.
Hugely.
Yes, you will. I have a trio of beverages.
Oh, shit.
Yes. Let me get them here. All from the same brewing company. This is called Founders.
Oh, sure.
Oh, yeah. I'm drinking a Founders All Day Haze Session Hazy IPA. I'm drinking an All Night IPA, which is a Session Black IPA. And last, but certainly not least, I'm drinking an all-day chill day, not chill dish, chill day Session Cold IPA.
Okay.
Yes.
Damn.
And they all taste distinctly different from one another?
I don't know. I'm only on the first one.
There we go.
We just started recording.
It's true.
Give me a little bit of time. No, not this week. Last week I did.
Nice.
Mm-hmm.
Heartbreak will do that to you.
Yeah. I am drinking. You heard me crack it open. I'm finished it now, though. I had just had a lovely La Colombe with oat milk can of coffee, and now I've got a really nice glass of Mandarin orange filter.
Nice.
Going hard tonight.
Yeah, I'm going hard. Going at it.
Tis the season.
It's a work day,
That is true. Oh, well, speaking of tis the season, I have decided to bust open some of the holiday capsules, and this is the mistletoe margarita.
Oh.
It's it's kind of it's very pomegranate-y, but there's and you got a little bit of those holiday spices thrown in. The base spirit is tequila, so I can enjoy tequila when it's like smothered with so much other crap. And this is it's not too sweet. It's not making me loopy or anything like that, but it's extremely good, and I already have next week's beverage picked out, so 'tis the season.
Nice.
I saw a commercial for the Bartesian last week.
Oh, nice.
Yeah, it's the first time I actually ever saw it in action.
They've got a couple now. They've got like
press a button.
A duet. Well, that so
I didn't know that you had like the different silos with the liquors that go in. They showed that all, like, and then you get the little packets that look like Nespresso capsules that have got the drink vinegar stuff. It's
Science.
It's pretty neat.
Yeah.
Technology.
It's a wonderful thing. And this is another wonderful thing because it is our Book of the Month episode, y'all. And we will be focusing on Ice Cream Man, Volume 1, Rainbow Sprinkles, written by W. Maxwell Prince, illustrated by Martine Morazzo, and color art by Chris O'Halloran. Now, before we get into it, I think I want to mix it up a little bit. Can I mix it up a little bit?
Please.
A little bit. Because I want to talk to David about something. I may lose you in the process. But because I'm just going to I'm just going to lightly touch upon this because he hasn't read it yet. I just want to tell him the setup on a book I bought today.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, just keep things lively. You know what I mean? We'll get to the Book of the Month. It's going to be there. It's not going anywhere.
Okay, so you're veering off to okay.
Oh yeah, we're going completely
very quickly, maybe. This is a book written and illustrated by Fred C. Stressing, colored by Meg Casey. Guess who did the letters? Do you have one?
It's Crank.
Yes, it's Crank. This is from the world of Rick and Morty, and it's called Meeseeks P.I. number 1. Dap, the setup of this book will have you giggling.
Okay.
Jerry loses the remote to the interdimensional cable.
Oh no.
Can't find it, and he thinks Rick is going to absolutely annihilate him for losing it. So he's distraught. He's going through the house looking for the remote, can't find it, stumbles upon a cache of Meeseeks. So he said, what the hell, right? Why not? I'll give this Meeseeks a try. And in classic Mel Brooks Young Frankenstein fashion, he picks one up, and there's a Post-it on it. that he believes says Detective Meeseeks, but it's a defective Meeseeks.
Oh my god!
So the hilarity ensues. And I've never seen Meeseeks in an actual episode, but the gist I'm getting is that the longer they take to solve whatever task they've been released for, they get progressively more insane.
Yeah, a little ornery. Yeah, definitely. They start to lose touch with reality. The Meeseeks box, basically, you press the button, Meeseeks shows up, and you give it a task. That's
right.
All they live for, and then once that task is complete, they just poof away out of existence.
Well, this Meeseek has a trench coat and a fedora, and he's trying to help Jerry find the missing remote, and takes them off planet. Why the remote would be off planet is anybody's guess. But then again, it is Rick and Morty, but hilarious. And while they're looking for the remote, the interdimensional cable's in the background, and it's the Steely show. Have you ever seen Steely?
No.
Steely steals things. He steals things. He
okay.
He
Does he wear like a vest?
Yeah, he's got
a bunch
of pockets. Yeah.
Okay. Yep. Okay.
And he goes, "Hey, I'm Steely. Today we're going to go visit the elderly and steal them."
Jesus.
So, I mean, there's something wonderful in your future.
The first Meeseeks appear in the first season, like episode 4 or 5, and everybody when Rick's got something to do with Morty, so the family's like dealing with their shit. So Rick's just like, all right, fine. Here's a Meeseeks box. It'll fix all your shit. And Summer wants to be popular at school, and Beth is looking for validation whether or not her marriage is worth sticking with. Jerry wants strokes taken off his golf game, and that's the most impossible fucking thing because he just won't listen. And so every 2 seconds, like the Meeseeks is hitting the button so that they'll activate a Meeseeks so that they'll also help. And it's like there's just a ton. There's a plethora of Meeseeks running around, and they're all slowly losing their shit because they've been around too long. It's an insane episode.
Nice. So there you go. And that's from Oni, if I didn't.
Hey, why don't we just run right into a lengthy discussion of the new Doctor Who special?
I haven't seen it yet.
Oh, darn.
It's good.
But I just make this whole episode about stuff that I...
Well, no. Wow. Jeez. I wanted to give my brother Dap a 4-color hug, knowing that he is going to enjoy this, and just entice him to get his ass to the comic shop.
Nice.
Yes.
It's wonderful, Dap. And I think it's a 4-issue miniseries. So
I think you're right.
Yeah. Book of the month. Ice Cream Man, Volume 1, Rainbow Sprinkles. Jason, ask your question.
Vince, when is the first time that you read Ice Cream Man number 1 through 4?
With the arrival of the Sunday edition. Because...
This is the first one, so that was probably early 2022?
Actually, I got it well past its publication date because I wasn't an Ice Cream Man convert. For whatever reason, I mean, I knew of the book's existence, but I never sampled it. And this is not a book that you can just read an issue of somewhere in the chain. You have to start from the beginning with this book. It's one of those titles that I worry about the shelf life of the single issues, because if you don't read this in collections, I can't see anyone buying 3 issues and another one like somewhere down the chain and being like, oh, I wonder what happens in between, because you could never tell. Like all the stories are relatively self-contained. They're linked thematically somewhere within the run of the book, but they're not consecutive, right? It's a strange beast. It doesn't play by the periodical rule, right? Amazing Spider-Man 123 picks up where 122 left off, right? This is not that kind of a periodical. So yes, I read it when I eventually picked up the Sunday edition.
All right.
And now I buy it in singles.
First time I read any Ice Cream Man was last weekend for this episode.
Excellent.
Well, I was about to say samesies, but I actually read whatever issue that was that Vince asked me to read with the whale.
Yes.
On its own, standalone.
Phenomenal issue.
That was a few months ago, so I read that. But this is the first time. Yeah, a few days ago is when the first time I read Ice Cream Man 1 through 4. Yeah.
And that issue, I believe it was like say 35 or 36, whatever, has absolutely nothing to do with what we just read.
Right. Well, except for the Ice Cream Man being in it.
Yeah, that's it. I mean, he is the central character, but as far as a joined narrative that continues over the course of X many issues, there's not. So yeah, I really like this book because it doesn't play by the rules.
Mm-hmm.
It does not condescend. It doesn't take the reader's intelligence. It doesn't belittle the reader's intelligence. There's no recaps. There's no, hey, remember this dude from issue 3? There's none of that. You either pay attention or you don't get it.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. And I like that. I like being on my toes. Forced to be.
Keep you honest.
Yes. Yeah.
So what are our you mentioned that you were a late convert, and what's interesting about that, right, is that this is a book that's had strong advocacy within our community.
Yes.
A lot of our EOC faithful and our patrons have adored this book from jump, and I think are probably very gratified that we're finally talking about it. But two, it's a horror, well, it's billed at least as a horror anthology, and so you would have thought that would be something you for sure would have checked out. So why were you a late convert to it?
While it is a horror anthology occasionally, I think it's a melange of genres. I think it's a whole bunch of things all mashed together, and I wouldn't call it a horror anthology. I would call it a storytelling anthology because the focus is on storytelling.
I agree.
Compartmentalized, short, being one issue, stories, which are infinitely more difficult to create than an extended narrative. It's like a band. How do you plug into that magic 3 minutes and 25-second single that's going to really cure the world's ills? That's the question, right? How do you do that little bite-sized thing that satisfies? When you only have 20, 22 pages to do it, something has to have a beginning, a middle, and an end, and be hopefully captivate the reader to want to come back for more. That's very difficult. I mean, Marvel and DC used to do it all the time, way back in the day. Things have changed now. With the advent of the direct market and trade paperbacks, all that went out the window. But I think it's a very, very strange beast, and I love it because of that. You can't. There's no elevator pitch for Ice Cream Man.
Right.
I have one, but I don't want to spill the beans this early in the discussion. But I think there's a belief system at work within all of this that you may be surprised to learn the nature of. But we'll get there. I just might be crazy. Who knows? But I see it, and I bet you Jefferson sees it. So we'll see. We'll see. So what did you guys think about this? From Jason's demeanor right now, I'm guessing it did not click with him.
Well, let me start by saying I love Morazzo's art. I think the art's fantastic. It reminds me of if we took our good friend Ryan Brownie and Steve Dillon and put them in a room together and had them have prison love until one of them procreated a child, it would be Morazzo.
Within the world of the Ice Cream Man, that's probably possible.
Exactly. That is, yeah. Exactly. It's Morazzo is Ryan Brown and Steve Dillon's love child. But that works for me because I like both of those artists very much. So I really dig the art, and I think it definitely fits the aesthetic of the book, right? I mean, it seems like one of those perfect fits. He's a versatile storyteller. He can, like you said, this book is really hard to define both in terms of genre and vibe and even setting. So he's seemingly able to draw just about anything. So credit to him there.
Can I contribute to that assessment?
Of course. Yeah.
I don't see Dillon in this. I see Rizzo.
Oh, yeah, I don't see that, but okay.
You don't see Eduardo Rizzo?
No.
Okay.
I mean, I love Rizzo, so I'm not saying it's not there. I just didn't see it.
No, well, I mean, I'd just back up my claims. Strong blacks.
Okay.
Clean, single width, not single width, but clean, fixed width line.
Mm-hmm.
That's where I get the Rizzo from.
Mm-hmm. I'm with the sure. I mean, listen, I like the art, so that's a high compliment, for sure. I think that I'm with you. Like, I like the idea of this being unpredictable, because too much of comics in general is familiar. And we don't have to go down that road again, but that's as much a we problem as it is the genre's problem. We've just been reading comics for a long time. So it's just hard to surprise us. And so this book definitely leans that way, which is great. So those are two big pluses for it. I think, though, for me, it didn't click in the sense that I think I read 9 issues. So I read, even though this is 4 we're talking about, but I read the first 9, and I thought each story was fine, but you know how, like, in an anthology, if when we read anthologies, there's often like a couple stories that you just adore, a couple that are like completely like but you just take them because they're anthology, and you're like, oh, and then there's a few maybe that are in the middle, and you're like, okay, yeah, and so overall it kind of feels like it was worth your time. This just felt a lot like Ants for me. Like, none of the stories had like I guess I was, and this could just be because I was expecting something that I shouldn't have, which is I was expecting a bit more of a Twilight Zone or a little bit of a hook, like where the each issue was gonna give you some kind of like aha moment or like a moral story or like a twist that would just remind you of those classic stories like that, or even like the creepy and eerie stuff, right? Where like there's kind of a little bit of a moral or a satire to it, a little point that they're trying to make. That's not really here. They're just weird stories, at least it seemed to me. And maybe as the series goes on, and as I understand it, does connect more and more. But like, I thought each one individually was fine, but I didn't think any of them. I didn't go like, "Oh, that's clever." I was just like, "Okay, weird kid with a spider." Okay, yeah, it's like so. And so for me, it left me just feeling a little bit unsatisfied. Like I had a meal that was fine, but I'm not going to remember it a week later.
Yeah. Well, I think Prince is really playing the long game with this series. But initially, I thought it very much akin to DC's Flinch anthology from back in the day.
Couldn't speak to it.
Okay, where it was horror themed, but more updated and visceral, like these stories. But I don't think that anymore. This is its own little sacred little animal, and I don't know. I love this series just because. You know me. If anybody throws the middle finger up to convention, I'm down with it. I appreciate the gesture, and if they can back it up with some real substance, some content that enthralls me on some level. And again, if I haven't seen a certain thing before or haven't experienced a type of story before, that's even better to me. Mm-hmm. At this point in the game, we've seen. I don't want to, lean on the fence and talk to while I'm cutting the grass. But at this point, we've seen a whole mess of the same kind of stuff. Mm-hmm. You can't say that this series is like anything we've ever read in comics. Specifically, like you can't point to a book and say, "Oh, it's early creepy. No, it's not. Or, like I said, Flinch, or another well-known horror anthology. It's not EC. It doesn't rely on standard horror tropes. It's just a strange thing, and I'm as much confused by it as I am enthralled by it. I'm not going to say 100% that I know what's going on, or I know where the story's going. I have no idea. Every issue comes out, and it's just like, what the hell is he doing? Like with the whale, like that's not like the issue before, and the one that came after was not like the whale stories. It's like it's almost like Prince writes himself or devises plots and tries to make them work in X amount of pages, challenges himself to come up with something on, like if he has like a random theme generator. Okay, this week, rabid gerbils. Okay, what am I going to do? I got to write a story about a rabid gerbil, and he comes up with some kind of scenario, interesting, challenging, about a rabid gerbil, and that's what I get with every issue, like that the writer is enjoying devising these out of the norm stories for we who are entertained by them. It seems, as much as it is a work of sequential art, it seems like a monthly exercise in writing, if that makes any sense.
It does.
Yeah, I mean, it's a weird pitch. Like again, how do you sell this series to someone who hasn't read it? Mm-hmm. There's no little bite-sized nugget that tells, oh yeah, it's about this agent of chaos that is posing as an ice cream man. Like, what does that even mean?
Right, like a horror host. Right, in this case, the horror host is the titular ice cream man. But
yeah,
again, this is. I think we're close to 50 issues on this now, right? I mean,
it's in the high 30s.
Okay. Oh, okay. Yeah, but either way, I mean, it's. So I'm sure we learn more, but in this, he I don't know what he is. I mean, he's obviously supernatural, but is he malevolent? Is he benevolent? Is he whatever he feels like being?
I don't think he's benevolent at all. No.
Yeah, but I don't. Right, but is he benevolent? I don't like. Who is he? Is he a demon? Is he a god? Is he
a werewolf? Like, what is that? Yeah. Why does he shapeshift?
So when the series, the shape, and that's the first issue though. It's like he sees him in the woods, and obviously, with the clothes the way they are, or the remnants of them, we know what's going on. But that's the only time that really happens. Yes, my man warps his body. He become very Junji Ito-esque at times, but there are. I wanted to know, because at first, the first trade is just the first 4 issues, and it's basically, it's kind of just like, hey, it's not like he's Rod Serling where he's hosting a story. He's part of it, or he's there in the background, but we're all in this world that he's messing with these people with, if you want to call it that. But up until the end of the 4th issue, these are kind of just done-in-one stories that are connected somewhat, either just by his jingle or maybe a detective that we'll see somewhere down the line. And that's I'll get to the nickname in a second. But Jason, did you, at the end of the 4th issue, where we are introduced to Caleb, and not our bestie, but we're introduced to Caleb, and then we find out later on that it's Regardus is Ice Cream Man. But with the introduction of his basically his antithesis, did that change anything for you as far as the series or where it might be going?
Well, I mean, it's tough because, I mean, theoretically, we're only talking about the first 4 issues, and at the end of the 4th issue, he's kind of just introduced as the Dark Man. We know that he's in some way adversarial to the Ice Cream Man.
And they look alike, so I thought they were twins.
Right. We know that he's adversarial. We know that he's, at least it alludes that he may be higher up on whatever food chain it is, because he's kind of there keeping an eye on things. But we don't know anything more than that now as the series goes on. I mean, like I said, every 9 issues, you get a little more insight into it. And that probably would, so my answer to that would be yes if you keep reading. But again, like I don't want to lead this off by saying like I didn't like the series. I think it's fine. I didn't. There wasn't a hook though. Like I wasn't like, oh, like each of the stories individually I thought would be clever. Like I'd be like, oh, that's really clever. And I guess to me, none of this was clever. And I thought the same when I read the whale issue. Like I thought it was weird, and I'm like, oh, this is weird. But I didn't really understand what the point of it was. Like I didn't think like I thought I missed the joke, or not the joke, but the punchline or the point. I think the same here. Like I'm like, oh, okay, like it's weird, kind of creepy, somewhat horror tingy stuff's happening in this town. The Ice Cream Man kind of like relishing in it. It seems like he has some role in it, whether he's causing it or just like feeding off of it. But I didn't like. It just didn't have the like you said, Vince. It's like he almost takes a random generator, makes a story, and there's a talent to that. But like,
sure,
to me, I'm grading you on like then whether you make an entertaining, clever story. And I don't. For me, there's nothing. There was nothing clever here. And again, maybe it's just me. Maybe that's an unfair requirement of it. But I guess because I've read so many books over the years that are these horror type anthologies, and like every one of them is in that format. Like you read this story, and it's like there's the aha at the end. Sometimes it hits flat because you've seen it 1,000 times, but they're always attempting it. I don't know what he's attempting here. I don't other than just he's trying to like, you know, I'm sure you guys took creative writing at some point in your lives. I know like Jackson took it last year in high school and loved it. Like where you just asked to clear your head and just like write from whatever comes to mind, almost like a Rorschach. There's value in that, but I don't think reading someone else's creative writing is all that engaging generally. And I kind of felt like that. I felt like, okay, yeah, like it's because it's unusual and I didn't know what to expect. I found it interesting and the art's excellent. So I'm not unhappy that we read it. And like I said, I read another 5 issues of it. So it's not like I felt like it was a chore. But I can't say that I understand why it's, you know, pushing 40 plus issues and going strong. And that it's like often, I think for 3 or 4 years in a row now, it's been in the running for best anthology and best horror series when we do the Oscars. You know, it always gets a lot of votes, and I don't understand that. Like it seemed fine to me, but maybe I just don't. The lack of hook is kind of perplexing to me. Like I'm just not sure what the point of the book is.
The lack of satisfaction is by design.
Yeah, I come to that conclusion.
100%. Yeah,
and so I think again, this is why I say like I'm not. Sometimes we read a book and it's just like not for us, or I think, or even we might even say, at least in the way we just don't think it's bad, right? Like it's like I don't like that book. It's not. That's not what this is. Like I think you're right. I think this is all very intentional, and if it's intentional, I think that you have to give him credit for executing his intention. And like all you can ever ask a creator to do is put their work out there, whatever they intend it to be. I'm just saying that for me, it left me flat. Again, I'm not unhappy I read it, but it just left me flat. I didn't like, if I never read another issue of this again, I'm fine. But like, if you guys said to me, let's do the Sunday edition volume 2 for book of the month, like I'd be like, okay. I mean, like it's kind of like there, it's in the middle of the stack of the millions of things that we have access to read, to me.
Right. But even if you look at the obvious lack of satisfaction, there's no payoff to the issue with Bud Hickey, right, where you have to beat Mr. Conehead and his drippers. You have to devise a song that is going to just blast goodness into this realm, and Hickey can't do it. And that's the end.
Right.
He wasn't up to the challenge.
Right.
Which plays into what I think is at the center of this whole series. Buddhism. Buddhism says that everything in life is based on suffering, right? That's what I think the ice cream man is doling out. He's doling out suffering, right? There's 3 types according to Buddhism. It's true. Physical pain, the products of age, like sickness, death, physical pain, that's one type of suffering. Mm-hmm. Then the second type is psychological pain, the things we inflict upon ourselves based on our mindset, like jealousy, envy, dependence, sadness, anger, pride, all that stuff. But the third is the suffering from just being alive. You are separated from the all. You exist in this meat bag, and you're cut off from everything that is creation other than being human, like the cosmic all that people talk about. In the human shell, you're removed from that. So that causes innate suffering, whether you know it or not. And I think there's even a passage in an issue, I don't even remember which one it was, but where the word suffering is explicitly used in connection with or around what the ice cream man is doing at that time. So I think if you look at the list of what the ice cream man is, he's not human. He's definitely not human. He has this rival in Caleb that doesn't seem to be human either. They pop out and they pop into scenarios seemingly at will. In the issue where Karen fucks up his van, it's fine, like not long after. He seems to have an endless supply of tools of whatever trade that he's doing. I think this is just...
Yeah, I mean, he's clearly able to... He's like a matter shifter. He can seemingly turn anything into anything else.
Right. And snaps his fingers, here's a double scoop of chocolate, lickety split. And he seems to be a being of some kind of power whose role it is to disperse suffering.
Yeah, that's really thoughtful. That makes a lot of sense. I didn't come to that conclusion reading these issues, but I mean, what you're saying makes perfect sense and actually does kind of frame it in a more interesting light.
And you see all of those types, all 3 types of suffering are present within the 4 issues. And it's very specific. You have Karen and Jim, who are junkies. They're dependent. They have a need. They have a desire to erase the pain of just being alive with these drugs, right? Then you have the old couple, Alice and Phil. Phil's complaining, oh, my body's deteriorating, my joints hurt, I got my spines all fucked up, and she's making him soup, and he complains that it's cold. Like, these are basic, the things that are generated in life on a daily basis, right? And it just seems like that. Then you have Bud, who was on top at one point in his life. He has this need to reclaim whatever that self-imposed elevation was in his life, and he can't do it. He's suffering because he has this guilt or this performance anxiety. Like, everybody in this series is suffering to some extent, and Ice Cream Man seems to be at the center of it all. And he even offers Karen, hey, look at this. I don't know what kind of drug it was. Could have been heroin. I got this drug for you, but here's the catch. It's only for one person. And she takes it and overdoses, thinking that Jim, was either going to make it through his withdrawal stage or not. But she's selfish and takes it for herself. And in doing so, she dies. She overdoses. And he was the one that gave that to her. Like, where did that drug come from? Did it just pop up? Obviously it did, but how is that even possible? So, I mean, yeah, I think he's an agent of chaos, specifically suffering.
It's deep, dude.
Yeah, it makes sense. 100%.
Now I'm wondering if our man Maxwell Prince is a Buddhist.
Who knows? But the reason why I said Jefferson is keyed into all this, so he would probably. I don't know if he even reads this. He would probably pick up on it right away.
Who you guys? I don't. But someone on our Slack is the diehard acolyte of this book. Do you remember who? Probably whoever nominated it. But
it's either Caleb or Bryan.
No. It's there's someone on that's not as active that it's like this is their favorite comic of like all time.
Oh, right. It's not Pete.
Is it Ian?
I want to.
Oh yes, Ian.
Maybe Ian.
Yes, I think Ian. This is.
Yeah, someone's always like big enough every issue.
Yeah.
There was like, oh man, you guys get on.
Sorry for not knowing that right off the bat. I'm a dickhead.
Yeah.
But no. I mean, it because it's so odd. That lends me to believe there has to be something within the DNA of this book that weaves all of these stories together. What is the central damn theme? And you read 4 issues and you're pretty much convinced that it's got to be suffering. the Jalio, right? And her partner. She's on the job and her partner dies. Gets bit by a spider. Like these are just weird occurrences. It doesn't happen every day. And this boy Byron, his parents just die because of this creature he introduced into the family unit. Does he obviously feels some kind of guilt for that, because when the ice cream man gives him the ice cream, he's like, hey, he says something about his parents, or go home, your family's probably looking for her, and he's just like, yeah, I don't have one of those because I'm stupid and introduced one of the world's most poisonous spiders to a residence. I kind of love this book. It requires you to go beyond just reading. You have to be an active participant in the book. You have to try and take these chunks or these fragments of stories and piece them together and see like the internal workings of a clock. Like, how do all these gears fit together to get this thing to start telling me some time, right? I don't know. I find much more enjoyment in something like this than, I don't want to point fingers, but your usual stuff, right? That is it's candy and it makes us happy during the period we read it. But a book like this, you take it with you long after you've consumed it, right? It sticks because it's so freaking odd. Doesn't play by the rules. It's just it's way beyond alternative. Like, this is I would never have assumed that this would be an Image book. I mean,
wasn't it be such a long running book, right?
Yeah, it seems to have connected, which is great. Keep making them. The last couple have not come out on schedule. They've been late. And I think it was the bestiary issue that kind of fucked things up, because that was it's like a D&D type monster manual. I think that put the kibosh on the schedule, but because it was so different from everything, again, that came before and after. But yeah, I look forward to it every month. Yeah,
I mean, to your point, I think there's been 30, like you said, 36 issues, and it launched in January 2018. So you do the math there. I mean, it's.
But I mean, good art shouldn't be produced on a schedule. I mean, I know these people got to eat and publishers got to publish. I get it, but some things take time, right? And if you're going to put the polish on it and lose a couple weeks, then by all means, put the polish on it. I don't know what kind of repercussions there are in the publishing world for that. I mean, if you got a schedule with the distributors, I'm guessing that if you miss that date, then the issues are returnable, right? So that's not a good thing. But other than that, yeah, again, the finance and the economic side of it is, I don't care. I'm all concerned about the artistic, the aesthetic part of it. And I'd probably lose my shirt if I was a publisher. I'd be like, yeah, take your time. Get it right. But it's not how the world works, I know.
Shout out to Jeremy for suggesting Ice Cream Man Volume 1 back in September. And recently, when the Volume 2 Deluxe Edition, when the Sunday edition was released, both Ian and Raj both had it on their top 5 of the week on the new release list, which Caleb thanked both of them for reminding him to pick it up at the shop. So yeah, we do have a few people who definitely look forward to it when it comes out.
I will say the Bud Hickey issue is not my favorite of the 4.
Even with all the references?
Because of the references.
They're a little overhanded?
I think it was low-hanging fruit. Like, I'm gonna do a story about this rock and roll guy, and he's gonna he's gonna board the yellow submarine and have to save the world from the Drippies. And who's at the table? Captain Jack, Eleanor Rigby, Ziggy, Rocky Raccoon, Major Tom. It's too easy. This issue.
Yeah, I'm with you.
And a lot of and I mean, I was really a little surprised that he didn't spread out the references. I mean, there was a lot of Beatles at that table, as opposed to there's so many other artists or acts or bands from these eras. That,
Bowie got 2, which was good, but Ruby Tuesday, and then he said, you can't hang a name on her. Like, oh God, it's too easy. Stop! It's such low hanging fruit. I get it, but this is not my favorite issue.
And artistically, though, I mean,
it's beautiful.
I mean, page after page, there's like the nonstop. But whereas opposed to like some of the other issues where they focus kind of just in the neighborhood, it's a lot of dusk settings, and so the backgrounds aren't as full, and it's just trees or homes and sidewalks, whereas the musical issue was just packed on page after page. I was the only thing that just I couldn't shake was how clumsy in my mind Jolly-O's nickname is, because she's got all 5 vowels in her name. They call her 5V, and that just doesn't really. Nicknames are supposed to like kind of roll off the tongue and just kind of it just the V kind of just 5V. It stopped me for a second. I just kind of had to shake my head and kind of not power through, but just move on with my life. But it was a weird nickname. I mean, not that it's not a weird book anyway. It's not like that shouldn't stick out. It was just for some reason I just couldn't let go of it, obviously, but it's a weird nickname of all of it. I get it. It just doesn't, there's no flow to it. It sounds clumsy in my head.
There you go.
Yeah, totally my thing. But no, I thought I don't know if I give somebody the first trade to get them hooked, because things really don't start, as Jason alluded to. I was reading the Sunday edition as well. Things really don't start to pick up until after like the 5th or 6th issue, because that's when you've got the dude jumping off the building and everything's going crazy in the office, and we see more of Rick or see more of Caleb, and that's when I thought it picked up a little bit, because the first trade definitely introduces you, kind of gets you a little familiar with what you might see over these 4 issues, but or at least kind of set up what the series, what you can kind of get used to seeing as the series continues. I know they're all cool, nifty stories in the first trade, but I think you need a little bit more than the first 4 to really. I can see somebody reading the 4 issues and just feel, okay, now that's cool. If I ever get back to it again, okay, great. But I don't know if aside from the last couple of pages of the 4th issue, I don't know if anything would cause somebody to go, now I definitely got to get the next trade to see where it's going. It's up until the introduction of Caleb, it's kind of just done in ones and just with the Ice Cream Man, and maybe a character might show up in another issue that you saw previously, but it's basically just the Ice Cream Man's book. It definitely, I think if they may have done first 6 issues in the trade. Might have a little bit more meat on the bones, but I mean, it worked for me. I'm not going to tell anybody what will or won't work for them. The 4 issues, as soon as I finished the 4th issue, I grabbed the Sunday edition PDF from Image and just kept going with it. So it did the trick for me. I could just see somebody being kind of done with the 4th because it just wasn't enough to kind of grab them.
That's why the Sunday editions are so necessary. I think you need a good chunk of this.
Yeah.
Just so you can kind of not get up on the pattern. Like once you realize there's not a pattern, and 4 issues, it gives you that impression, but 12 is better because you get more of the that narrative thread that weaves its way through them, separate from the specifics. Like there's still a mythology in this book that appears every so often, but in 4 issues, aside from Caleb and certain things about the Ice Cream Man, you don't really get any hint of the big sphere, the big picture going on. Yeah. And if we're picking nits, the Hendrix Stratoblaster, Hendrix was left-handed. and my man's playing it right. So, I mean, you would think that in this realm of these musical entities that the Hendrix Stratoblaster would have been played by Hendrix. So it's not authentic. It's not a left-handed configuration. But whatever. I don't want to pick nits, but it's not important to me. I didn't read it thinking, wait a minute.
Across the room.
No. I mean, in fact, as I'm going through the book now, as we're talking about it, this is the only time I noticed it. Because the last that splash where Hickey's playing the guitar, like he's playing it. Yeah, no, he is playing it left-handed.
Well, it's also.
He is.
He's right. He's good. It's correct.
Yeah, he's playing it left-handed. But the knobs are whatever. I don't know what I'm saying. So yeah, just delete that shit.
There we go.
That amounted to nothing.
What I and another thing that just kind of really engrossed me into this, or to see what the Ice Cream Man may be about, when Caleb does show up and he's talking to ICM, my man is so frazzled that he's actually crinkling the side of the van with his fingers, because he's just not. He's the last person he expected to see, and he's more than just a little perturbed at my man's appearance, and
which hints at the power inherent in the character.
Yes, exactly.
Yeah.
So there were little things, even though the story's done, because it was a hell of a story with the whole funeral thing. But yeah, I mean, here's a little sliver that you don't know. You don't know anything yet, let alone you don't know everything. But you don't know anything yet what's going on, and that just added to me my rush to continue reading the stories.
Right. Also plays with the classic Western tropes too. The Ice Cream Man's in white, and Caleb's in black, which is the reverse.
Yeah.
As far as this goes, these 4 issues, I mean, I think it is by far our most atypical book of the month. There's no value in trying to relate the specifics of each of the 4 issues to a listener, because there's not traditional payoff where, Spider-Man snags Gwen with his web, but he snaps her neck, like, in the process. Like, there's not any concrete resolution to a lot of these chapters.
Yeah.
And I think it wouldn't make for good listening to say, oh, and Rupert has a spider, one of the most poisonous spiders in the world. And his parents are really dead, and he's trying to live his life as if nothing happened. And in walks the ice cream man, who has lycanthropy, turns into a were creature. Click. Let's listen to something else, because this is not making a whole bunch of sense. But it does make sense on a weird level. It does. Yeah.
We've said it with books in the past. We could, like you just said, we could go page by page and kind of just break things down. But I think more so here than most of the other books we've talked about month in, month out. This is something that you really do have to kind of experience. I don't want to give anything away by kind of just explaining in detail. This particular panel looks kind of like how Martine might draw, and I just want to be able to just be like, hey, read this. It's not. It's not like it's not going to take up a ton of. You'll spend more time looking at the art, I think, than reading the stories themselves. But still, I mean, they work in tandem together. But there's not a lot of heavy lifting going on here. You could start thinking things and maybe trying to figure out or guess where things are going and piece things along. But no, just sit back, enjoy the ride, and just see where the hell they're taking you. Because I was just a passenger. I was just kicking back and page in, page out. I wasn't worried about anything else when I was reading this. There wasn't. It's not. You're not. Steeped in 60 years of continuity, trying to figure out what else is going on elsewhere. This is just everything you need is within these pages. I'm glad this was chosen. I'm glad we went with this one. I'm kind of bummed that it did take me this long to finally get around to checking it out, but I'm very glad I did. I'm glad it was suggested. Glad we went with it, and I will continue reading it when we're done tonight.
Yeah, I think you're doing yourself a disservice by taking shotgun on this series. I think in order to really immerse yourself in it, you have to be active in this book. You have to try and approximate or put yourself in the position of the characters and how are these people feeling. That's why. I love it when we get something that can't be summed up very easily or at all with language, right? Like, how do you describe House of Leaves to someone? Have you guys ever read House of Leaves? The book?
No.
Okay. Masterpiece. But it's not a book that you can just, hey, Fred, how you doing? I just read this book, House of Leaves. This is what it's about. There's none of that. Like, there's stuff within Ice Cream Man that if you utter it, if you speak it, it sounds weird or wrong or off. Like, it doesn't make any sense. But I this is where I say a lot of times that we kind of do the impossible when we talk about art, because you shouldn't be able to describe how art makes you feel with those little cumbersome things we call words. It shouldn't, the twain should never meet, because you process these things on a emotional, on a primal level, where how does the color red make you feel? Right? Like, describe that. You could rely on the standard, it makes me feel hot or rage, but no. What are the thought processes that erupt when you see these colors in combination, or this painting. Like, what does this make you feel? And especially abstract work. Like, how do you describe that? It's impossible. You can't do it. You can try, and we've done it for 822 weeks, but somewhat successfully, right? I think it's an uphill battle. It's something that's not easily conquered. I don't think anybody can, even the best critics, they throw words around. If you've ever read the Comics Journal, like, I just think a lot of times, they use flowery and complex language to mask the fact that they don't know what the fuck they're talking about. Or if they do, they can't find the words to accurately convey that information. I don't think anybody can. There's a realm of art that should never be spoken. Feel it internally, and then that should be enough. But no, we live in a society where click, 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 click. I read this. It's awesome. Why? Oh, because the guy gets his head blown off. Well, okay, but like, what about this thing consumed you to the point where you had to make a social media post? Like, what is it about? Well, yeah, you can't. It's hard. It's very difficult. Which is why a lot of times I just think, you should let the work speak for itself. And I think Ice Cream Man is one of those things that should just be experienced, and let whatever it is, that unspoken language of your brain, process it, and then you'll key into it. I think it sounds like a cop-out, doesn't it? To a certain extent, it does sound like we're just like making excuses because we can't come to the center of this thing. But that's how I feel like that way about a lot of works. Like, the Rite of Spring. That's a piece of music. Great, it's awesome. But how does it make you feel? Okay, right. I can't tell you. I can't relate with language how these sounds make me feel. It's a losing battle. It is. Mm-hmm. I'll shut up.
No. I like.
I'm not.
Sometimes when you read something, right? I find myself often like almost subconsciously saying, "What does this remind me of?" And like one of the things that came to mind after I read this was Spa by Erick Svetoft.
Yeah,
Fantagraphics.
Right. Yep.
But like, and I bring that up because to your point, like, I don't know that I can really tell you what was going on in that book either. Other than it's set in this spa, but crazy shit happens. But like, that book made me feel though. Like, I read that and I thought, this is fucking crazy. I don't know everything that's going on, but wow, is it like affecting me viscerally? Like, I think he's trying to tell me something here, and he's having fun with it, And again, I'm not saying that that Prince and Morazzo aren't doing that in this book, but all I can tell you is how it makes me feel. And right. I didn't come away from this in the way I did, like with Spa, where I read it, I was like, damn, that was I don't know what the fuck happened, but it was great. Like, I'm like, okay. Or like Jim Woodring, right? Like,
yeah,
Woodring doesn't, you could say there's a narrative, sorta, but it's, there's no words, and it's like, it's narrative in that it's sequential, but it's a fucking crazy, surreal set of visuals that don't really mean much except what's on the pages for you to just interpret yourself and enjoy. Like, it's just really, you know what I mean? Like, it's, like, to me, it's like, okay, yeah, you're making me feel something, and it doesn't really matter at all what the fuck it's about beyond that. And like, I feel like with this, because of the structure of it, like, I have a hard time believing that's what Prince expects. Like, I think he is trying to tell us something. That's kind of like why I think your view of this being a treatise on suffering is pretty compelling, because that would help explain to me what's going on. Because this doesn't strike me as like, I'm going to put this book out because I feel like putting this book out. This strikes me as more of a, like, I am trying to tell you something, and it's maybe not something that you're fully understanding yet, but like, I do have a point here, and we'll get to it. And
right,
so
yeah, left you cold like ice cream, huh?
There you go. Look at you, ever the pro.
Yeah. No, it's. I think you're onto something with the Woodring comparison. Yeah. I think Woodring and prints are not creatively, but I think the goal in the construction of stories is similar.
Right.
Yeah. So there you go.
We've been at this for a while. We can pull some things every now and then.
Oh, we do. That's the thing. But it's awesome when a difficult book like this comes along, because it forces you to change your perspective, or to alter your perspective in tandem with the art. It has changed you.
Right.
That's some powerful stuff.
Yeah, I will say, I think that's an important point here, right? Because we've all had moments in our time reading comics where we have malaise. Yeah. I had a pretty big one earlier this year, obviously, and talked about it a lot. And really the crux of that, right, was that just everything I felt like I was reading was like so familiar. I just felt like I was seeing the Matrix, right? It was like, oh God, no matter what it was, like, okay, I've seen this before 10 times. Like, okay, I know, I know what's happened. Yeah. And that's so not disappointing, but it's just like, then it just doesn't feel like it's almost like, I just don't know what the point of it is, right? Like, it's just like, just repetition for the sake of it. It's like, okay, I'm like, you're not getting my synapses firing if I'm seeing everything that's coming before it comes. So that's why I say, like, this book deserves praise in the sense that, like, it maybe didn't connect with me the way I'd hoped, but I'll never say that it isn't a unique experience, and that elevates it far beyond a lot of comics on the shelves from my vantage.
Nice.
I think that's, and I think we all have our own journey there. I've gotten a lot better at curating that stuff out of my reading pile so that it doesn't drive me nuts, but inevitably there's still a lot of stuff that we read that's like, oh yeah, okay, like, I've read this before a lot, like, right. many times.
And that stuff's okay. It's there for you when you need it.
Right, like, and again, right, there's no hard and fast rules here. Shit, we just gushed about a G.I. Joe comic, right? It's like, they're not breaking any ground with that. Like, same character, same setup, right? Like, it's just, but it was fun. It's right. It's just whatever works for you. I just think that for me, and I don't speak for you guys, but we've just read so many fun comics, man. Like, where it's like, it's got to stand out in some way. It can be something familiar. Like, the most, Dap obviously is the most, I think, still traditional in that regard, in that he continues to read a lot of Superman books every month, and I think, generally speaking, enjoys them, right? And I think that's wonderful, and I would like to think that part of that is like that they're well done in the moment, right? It's like, I really enjoyed the X-Men comics. I've always read them, but I really enjoyed them for a few years because they felt special to me. Were they really different? No, but the execution was beyond the norm, and that made it special, right? Like, whereas, so there's different ways you can cut at this. You can give me something I wasn't expecting, either visually or structurally or narratively, and that's great. That's what I'm clamoring for. But you can also be entertained by stuff that is very familiar if it's done really well. The problem is that it's often difficult, particularly with IP that we're familiar with, before you open up the book and read it, knowing whether you're going to get, oh, I've seen this a million times, or it's really well executed. There's no great formula to understand when it's a standout, unless you don't read it when it's coming out and let a community of people like we have, whose opinions you trust, point out to you, hey, this is a different type of book. Like, this stands out on, this is worth your time, right? And that's, I think, one of the important parts of the comics community. It gets back to that conversation we had a few weeks ago, where you guys were talking about going to the shop and how much you had missed it, and then now you're happy to be back to it. And I said, I don't really have any, that doesn't really do anything for me. But I think the experience of what you get going to the shop is very much the value I ascribe to the comics community that we have online, right? Which is that, like, I know that lots of people that we talk about comics with on a daily basis may not have my exact tastes, but I can generally know after these years that, like, they have good taste and they have interesting perspectives. And so that is a pretty effective way to help curate the signal from the noise, right? Like there's so many times where someone a friend of ours says, "Oh, I really love this book," and sometimes I'd heard about it and really didn't give any thought, and now they turn me on to something I'd never heard of it, and like that's just incredibly valuable in a world where we have seemingly unending access to content, right? Like there are at this point infinite TV, movie, and read things to read, right? Like it's infinite, like music, right? We're pretty much at infinite content, right? Like we could each listen to new music every day of our lives until we die, right? We could each read a new book, pages from a new book every day until we die, and never come close to covering it all. So, I think curation is so valuable in today's day and age.
Otherwise, it's just chaos.
There you go. Yeah. But you love chaos, though.
I do. It's my thing. Yeah. All right. Hey, that was our book of the month. Anybody have anything else to say before we slide on over to something else?
How would you compare this experience to Art Brut by the same creative team? Like, do you see similarities? Do you see it as a completely different approach to storytelling? Do you?
No, I think that was far more accessible. But
okay.
Yeah, but I think you had to have a inclination to loftier perception. You have to be. And this sounds base, but like a fan of art on some level for that book to work. I mean, I think the narrative is pretty straightforward. It reminded me a lot of what Grant Morrison did on Doom Patrol, right? It was clever and intelligently written, and again, that word I use all the time, compelling. Like I wanted to read it, and it was beautiful for my eyes. But I think I don't think you could give Art Brut to somebody who dines exclusively on, like, say, Batman or Superman.
Right.
That it definitely wouldn't click. Sure. But if you are more adventurous and appreciate the aesthetics, then yeah, I think that book's a winner. And it was self-contained, relatively. It was like 4 issues or something. Mm-hmm. Yeah. Mm-hmm. Yeah, I like this team. I really do. And the another anthology that Prince was involved in was the Happy anthology at Image.
Oh, right.
Yeah, and that was akin to this, to Ice Cream Man, but a little bit. There was a little more in terms of, well, maybe not. I think the payoff was similar as well, or lack thereof on some stuff. Yeah.
Yeah. Another person that I thought of is Alesh Kotz. He's
yes,
in this school.
Yes,
he tells stories that are compelling on many levels, but I don't, and I've never really quite figured out if he doesn't care about having a narrative that fully makes sense, or he's just not good at it.
I don't. But I think
his stories don't often have like a cohesive narrative, even though they're structured in a way you think they're supposed to.
Oh, I think Zero's freaking great, and that has a cohesive narrative.
Sure,
it's odd, but it's I think the lifespan of that book was, if you read Zero from beginning to end, I mean, there's definitely a progression, and yeah, the book is great. But I understand what you're saying about Alesh. He's very smart, and I mean, you could tell just from the premise of whatever he's working on that there's an intelligence, there's a level of experience with the world and with whatever he's writing that is above, I think, a lot of creative people working on comics. I don't want to belittle people, but I think he's Morrison level smart.
Nice.
Yeah. Ice Cream Man, Volume 1, Rainbow Sprinkles. W. Maxwell Prince wrote it. Martin Morazzo drew it. And Chris O'Halloran colored it. Go get it. There's a lot of flavors. Just keep it in the in the zone. There's a lot of flavors of Ice Cream Man. You can go buy the back issues. You can get the trade paperbacks. You can buy the Sunday editions, which are huge chunks of book. And whatever you choose, it will be delicious and rewarding. There you go. What else do we have, gentlemen? everything. This is funny. Everything else I've read is the complete antithesis of Ice Cream Man.
Oh, that's great.
It's funny. It's because it's all surface. All the other stuff, all surface, completely. You know what I read that? Or I should say reread.
What?
Reread. Project.
I see it now.
Project Pegasus.
Yes.
Here's a little bit of backstory. Oh, it's so good. A little bit of backstory. I have stacks of trade paperbacks and hardcovers. Some of which I've been deliberating. Should I keep them? Do I really need these? I have the singles. Do I want to, to litter my bookshelves with something I already own in a different form? So I'm eventually going to either try and unload them on the Slack or go to eBay, whatever. But I have the, I think they used to call these Marvel Premiere hardcovers. Because
yes, they were different from the Masterworks.
Same form factor as a Masterwork, though.
Yes.
Yeah, and
because I have a few of them. Yeah.
Like no expense spared. Like I said, they're hardcover. The title is debossed and has the type is actually colored. It's a very nice package. And the thing that kind of got me was they recolored all these issues because it says here that the colorists on these were Nell Yomtov, Phil Rachelson, Bob Sharon, and Carl Gafford. And I don't remember those people being involved with 201 back in the day. But so this stuff has been retouched, let's just say. That's not the original coloring. But that's okay. It didn't detract from my enjoyment of it. But so this is The Thing, Project Pegasus. The storyline was originally conceived by Ralph Macchio in 2 issues of Marvel 2-in-1, 42 and 43. And then later on, Ralph is joined by Mark Grunwald on issues 53 to 58 to expand upon what Ralph did in those 2 issues. The pencilers, wow. All-timers, every one of them. Sal Buscema did 1 issue, and then John Byrne and George Perez alternate in the Project Pegasus storyline proper. Inks by Sam Granger, Alfredo Alcala, Joe Sinnott, and Gene Day. Like, come on. All of these guys are heavy hitters. Every one of them. And I'm sure the listeners are familiar with Marvel 2-in-1. I would hope that you would be. If you're not, it was a companion book of sorts to Marvel Team Up, where Marvel Team Up was not exclusively, but more often than not, featured Spider-Man and another character in the Marvel Universe. So there was a bunch of issues that didn't. Maybe 5 or 6 or 7 over the entire run that didn't feature Spider-Man, but it was a Spider-Man book more often than not. Whereas Marvel 2-in-1 was, I believe, 100% The Thing and somebody else from Marvel Universe. Like there wasn't a Human Torch and somebody within the run of Marvel 2-in-1. I'm 100%, almost 100% certain that it was always The Thing, right?
Yes.
Yeah. So these stories were written in the 70s when energy and the consumption of same was on everybody's mind. Gas was being rationed. Costs of heating the home were rising. Natural gas, oil, everything was rising. So the energy crisis was very important. It was a very, very topical subject. So got to give it up to Macchio because he said, hey, I'm going to do something with this within, the Marvel Universe. So that's where Project Pegasus comes from. It was a DOE project that focused on alternate forms of energy that just happened to have a bunch of energy-based heroes and villains within the confines of the place. It was underground. You get a map. Like the G.I. Joe base was, you got a big ass, cross section of it in the G.I. Joe books. You get a cross section of Project Pegasus, and you see how far down it goes, and the train that loops around it and everything. But it all focuses on it. It starts with Wondar. You remember Wondar, right?
Yep.
You know who created Wondar? You don't?
No.
Steve Gerber.
Oh, that's right.
Yes. Wondar was Gerber's pastiche on DC Superman, and he got in trouble for it. But the character was deemed divergent from Big Blue enough where they let it go. But yeah, it's same deal as Superman. Came to Earth in a rocket ship, the home planet, went kablooey, grew in the rocket ship to adult proportions, but his mind didn't. So he was like a child and latched onto Ben, calling him, Uncle Benji. And so Wondar is in Project Pegasus, and they're testing his energy dampening powers with the cosmic cube. Not a good idea. Whose idea was this? The first part stars Captain America with the thing, and wouldn't you know it, Wondar, because of the cube's properties, Wondar gets thrown into a coma, and the cosmic cube is stolen by Victorious. We haven't seen much of Victorious over the years, but then it heads down to Florida. And wouldn't you know it, Victorious and Jude the Entropic Man. Like the Entropic Man, or the Entropists, were a big thing in Gerber's writing. But the Man-Thing pops up. And then it shifts back to Project Pegasus. And who do you think is the head of security? Somebody I never would have guessed would be a good head of security, but whatever. Quasar. Randall Vaughn is the head of security. So Wondar's in a coma. And there's this Dr. Leitner that is within the cast of Project Pegasus, and he's a no-goodnik, right? He's trying to assemble this nth projector, and he gets Deathlock to break into the compound and try and set it up, but Deathlock fails to complete the task. Meanwhile, there's this subplot with Thundra, and she's wrestling for this little man Oglethorpe, and he thinks he's got his meal ticket all sussed out with Thundra, like nobody can beat her. But the whole subplot of her wrestling was only to get her into Project Pegasus. Like, it doesn't make any sense. Like, so they were looking for somebody really strong and resourceful, and then they pulled her out of the ring, and they sent her and her grapplers. And the grapplers are Titania, Screaming Mimi, Pound Cakes, and Letha. They break into Project Pegasus, and they're trying to install the other half of the nth projector, but Thundra and the Thing have a history. Like, Thundra was once a member of the Fantastic Four. Like, what's going on? Did she forget all that stuff? But they try and put a Band-Aid on it by saying, oh, she went out into the world because she loves Ben. He was the masculine ideal that she wanted to mate with him so they'd produce, powerful kids, but whatever. So inside Project Pegasus, you have all these energy-based villains, like some produce energy, some transfer energy, some transform energy. So Solar, 2 R's, and Claw enter the picture. And Titania, they did the nth projector thing. Leitner becomes the nth man. It all is magnificently rendered by George Perez. Like, there's a section where Screaming Mimi does her thing where she's got this mind warping scream, and Perez just chews up the page, man. There's a cameo of Screaming Mimi doing her thing, and her face is all twisted and warped, and the landscape of Project Pegasus twists and everything in tandem with her powers. It's amazing. Like, Perez just owned those issues. But what's the point here? The point is it's all surface level, right? But it was so much fun to revisit these issues, where it's kind of like, and then, Cap and the Thing do this, and then the Cosmic Cube is stolen, and then, you know what I mean? So it seemed to me like there was intelligent design behind the story, where it was like, all right, we'll pick these characters. Claw, like he's energy based, Sonic's, right? And Solar is of course energy based. We'll use these guys. Like Nucleo's in it for a little while. Nucleo is awesome because even as a kid, I realized that they were inverting the original drawing for Nucleo. Like they did a negative of him on the page. They probably statted it and did a negative and then repasted it on the board, because it would take a friggin' mastermind to draw in negative like Nucleo was. I'm sure Perez could have handled it, but I'm just saying it would be easier to just draw it normally with the shadows where they would be and then stat it in negative, whatever. But it was so much fun. Like there's no payoff other than I really had a good time with this. Ben is one of my favorite Marvel characters of all time. I know the character. And it was just like old home week. It was so much fun. If I was Ben, I would have picked Thundra over Alicia. No question. But hey, wouldn't you?
Given your real life propensity for razor skinny blondes, I'm surprised to hear you say that. But
Thundra's 7 foot tall. So
she's not skinny, she's thick though.
I wouldn't call her thick. I would call her lean. She's all muscle, but she's not She-Hulk muscle, right?
She's pretty. I mean, I feel like she's like She-Hulk without green skin.
Nah, she's not that big. And the costume too, way better than anything She-Hulk ever wrote.
I mean, she's like Marvel's Barda, really. I mean, isn't she? I mean,
no, she's not. She's not that thick. No. But anyway, you got John Byrne and George Perez tag teaming on these series of issues. Like, oh my God, it was pure bliss reading these things. And needless to say, I'm not going to get rid of this hardcover, because if I had to go scare up these issues in the archives, I probably wouldn't find them all, at least not without a whole mess of effort. So I can revisit this anytime I want. So I'm keeping it.
Yeah.
I was also,
by the way, just random because you mentioned random British fact. I didn't realize that John Byrne. You mentioned John Byrne. I didn't realize John Byrne was British until like a month ago.
Yeah. He was born but raised in Canada.
Yeah. I guess that's why, right? But like, I didn't know that he was, because I was like, oh no, I had no clue.
But I got to give all the artists on this credit. Like, no matter who they were drawing, Byrne's Deathlock is a little strange. He's not as disfigured as the Deathlock that would soon, come to prominence.
Byrne can't really do ugly or gruesome.
It's true.
When he inks his own work, he can.
Oh, that's fucked
yes.
up.
I'm just saying.
His own work, but it's Yeah, it's Deathlock.
You want to kill me? It's true.
The Eye. It's just you can't. It's not. She's not doing gruesome.
That I think I lost the room with that one.
For real.
It's the Byrne dig. I mean, I love John, but John never looked better than when he had a really good inker like Terry.
Yes. Oh, I agree.
But you thought it was ugly though.
Some of that X-Men stuff is rough.
Yeah.
I mean, it's still John Byrne, but it's.
When
I don't exactly. I know what you're going to say. Say it. Go ahead.
Well, when I think of there are certain artists who can ink themselves, and there are artists who benefit from an inker, and for a long time, Byrne was pretty much a poster child for whenever I would make an example of that. he looks. You can always tell it's Byrne, whether it's Austin, whether it's Ordway, whether it's Gordon, Giordano. It doesn't matter who's inking him. You can still see Byrne under there, but he works so much. His work sings with an inker. It's a little sloppy when he inks himself.
What I thought you were going to say is whenever John Byrne pops into your mind, you don't think gritty. You don't think ragged, rough lines. And that's what John brings to his own work when he inks it.
Yes.
Yeah. But I forgot about Bob Foster's in here. Giant Man. And it's funny because...
Oh, wow.
You mean Bill Foster?
Bill.
Yeah.
It's funny because... the Thing and Foster are in an elevator, and Ben doesn't know that he's Black Goliath until the elevator starts coming down on them, like the roof, and Foster just does his Black Goliath thing and becomes big, and he's like, "Whoa, wait a minute, you're Black Goliath?" It's like, Ben, what are you doing? He doesn't wear a mask. Like he's the same character, but anyway. Foster's like, maybe I should think of changing my name. Well, Ben's like, from what I was taught in religion class, Goliath wasn't a good guy, and everybody could tell you're black just by looking at you. It's like, wow, that would never ever fly.
That's true. Yeah.
He goes, well, how about this? I got a G on my belt. Why don't I just call myself Giant Man? I don't think Pym would mind. He's like, nah, go ahead. Call yourself Giant Man.
Oh, shit.
It's so good. I love it. Yeah. It's so comfortable, though. It's like, you know how it is. Whenever I don't know if you know, but I'm sure you do. Whenever I go back to these things, it's like I haven't skipped a beat. It's Ben is Ben, and the universe it makes sense, and everything's not interconnected. It's just fun. Yeah. So, yeah.
Hallelujah.
Why? My question, why has there not been a 2-in-1 omnibus? Why?
Yeah, it's true.
Makes no sense. I
feel like we're pretty. I mean, I feel like comic nerds are pretty good at manifesting omnibu. Like we kept how many times we're like, I can't believe there's not insert omnibu. And eventually we get there. Rom, Micronauts, Ohatmu, Excalibur. Like there were so many. We've just gotten them all. So yeah, 2-in-1's next. Yeah,
but they've covered the isn't there a Marvel Team Up omnibus?
I was just going to ask if there is.
Oh man, probably.
I mean, yeah. I know. Okay, of the books of this period, like there's a What If omnibus. Yay!
Yes, there is.
And there's omnibu for every ongoing of the period, but I can't say that there's a team up omnibus either, which is a crime that there's not.
Yeah, there is, and you can't even. I mean, I was thinking maybe trying to divvy up the royalties, but if you got a What If, then there's no excuse.
Oh yeah, there's definitely a What If, but there's two. There's a Thing omnibus. You get the whole series in one shot.
Right.
So let's have a 2-in-1.
Yeah, is that the Thing by John Byrne or something like that? I know it's not just the Thing. It's because I think he pretty much wrote the entire series.
Rocky Grimm.
The Rocky Grimm Space Ranger.
Yep.
Yeah, there's not a team up omnibus.
That's baffling to me.
That's a crime.
It is 100% crime.
I'd order that in a heartbeat.
You see, now they're in the woods, right? They're in the sticks with Micronauts, Rom. I love them. I'm buying them. But
I would have figured you'd have taken care of your own library before you would have went to the licensed stuff again.
Yeah. Well, no, I'm not. Hey, I'm not looking the gift horse in the mouth. If they're going to do Rom, I'm buying it. But absolutely. Yeah, let's get. And there's a Marvel Age omnibus. I'm going to own it, but
I'm going to wait to get it in my hands. I didn't order it.
But as a in terms of legacy, I think those issues need to be preserved because it tells you what the creative. I mean, yes, it's company speak, okay, but it tells you what the creative teams were thinking, what led to all these series, what problems or revolutions they encountered in the production of these series. Like, this stuff needs to be archived. So,
I mean, look, there's a Devil's Reign omnibus. There's an Empire omnibus. I mean, if you're putting those kinds of things out, you can put.
Yeah, maybe it's a source material problem. Maybe those issues of Team Up and 2 and 1 are hard to, like the original pages, or even if that's a prerequisite, I don't know. But I'm sure they scan the original art for the.
Yeah, I would think so.
Yeah. So I don't know. But
dude, there's a Hulk Maestro omnibus.
Yep.
Yeah.
That's baffling.
Yep. But I'm finding great joy in the omnibus these days.
Good for you.
Yeah. Now you should start reading yours. You have enough to build a house out of them.
It's so true, dude. Need to be selling mine.
Boy. You don't part with that stuff.
There's a Marvel
Well, you parted with
Cinematic
Venom.
Universe omnibus.
He did. There's a what?
Marvel Cinematic Universe omnibus.
Oh, no.
It's all about that.
I'm done. Don't want that. But, I mean, look, there's multiple Venom and Carnage omnibus. Like, we're in a damn golden age.
Damn golden age, yo.
What else do we have?
There's a Marvel Now omnibus. Jesus.
Really?
That's cray.
Oh, with all the first issues from that.
Yeah.
Okay.
Oh, right. Yeah, Ollie's had that for, like, dirt cheap. I think it was, like, $20 or so.
There's 2 Marvel Zomnibuses.
That stuff deserves to be collected. That's fun. It is. Shitter on joy. It is. I mean, come on. Just look at the lineup in Marvel Zombies. Howard the Duck, Machine Man. Come on. That stuff's great.
Come on, Shen.
Yeah. What else do we have?
There's a Predator omnibus. I mean,
Got to make that
That's
money.
what he's doing now. He's just
Well, once he gets with a list, it's hard to get him away.
it's true, dude. There's a Solomon
Well,
Kane
well,
omnibus,
just
and
listicles.
I own it.
Oh, I don't like Solomon Kane. That's one of the. No, I never clicked with that character. A Puritan warrior. Stop. No.
Yeah, it doesn't make any sense.
You're-
I don't know why I own it.
Fighting for the wrong team.
So cray. Fuck.
I gotta say, I didn't expect good things, and this is probably on me. From Braithwaite on Conan, did a good job.
Good on him.
Yeah, with the Titan series. Braithwaite is on it now, and very good stuff. Very good.
Attaboy.
Shame on me.
You know what you need to give a second chance to, too, because you wrote it off before you watched it? Monarch.
I didn't write it off. I didn't say anything.
oh, he doesn't have Apple TV Plus.
Yeah, but when we were in New York Comic Con, you're like, eh.
Yeah.
Well, that doesn't
that's
mean
true.
no. I didn't poo-poo it. I'm just like, yeah, whatever. But from what I've seen, again, this is all on me. I expect the kaiju to at least fit somewhere within the pantheon of kaiju designed by the original Japanese creators. The beasts that I've seen from Monarch, they don't look like they fit. They're I don't know, for lack of a better word, they're American. And it's, whatever. But I'll watch it.
Well,
I'm more interested in seeing Godzilla -1 than I
This
am.
is a direct, as I think you know, this is tied directly to the movies.
Right, and I'm not so hot on those.
Well, I will say, I wasn't hot on the movies, but this show's off to a great start.
Kurt Russell, right?
He's in it, yeah.
Yeah, how do you not like Kurt Russell?
As is his son.
Mm-hmm.
A.K.A. the captain in the MCU.
Remember the Thunderbolts. I will start Monarch. There are a couple things that I need to start, but I am nearing the end. I'm about halfway through the 4th season of Star Wars Rebels, and I'm not starting anything until I finish.
That's
it.
my man's. Damn,
Dude.
I'm over here fist pumping.
Best
Best modern cartoons.
I just watching. I totally get now that why why Sabine was so adamant to find Ezra, and that Hera's such a badass, and I just and I of course we saw Zeb in Mandalorian, but I just think that I never expected to. I just thought there may be, some zany one-off adventures here and there, but I mean the ongoing plot, and then they're on the one planet, they're on the one rebel base, and there's Bendu for most of the season, and then we get Thrawn, and I find out, that Thrawn is as fucking menacing as he appeared in Ahsoka. I am over the moon by how much I'm enjoying it. I just figured, it gets to the point now where like at the end, as we're nearing the end of the day, I'm like, well, I'm going to watch a couple episodes before I go to bed. Like, I'm looking forward to it. Before, we've just been like, yeah, I'll watch it, I'll get through it, and I'll just, move on to something else. But I'm super invested, and I'll probably, I'll go to Monarch or something like that, and then I'll maybe do Bad Batch.
Oh, man. And I'm 2 episodes into Scavenger's Reign.
Yeah, that's the other thing I got to start too. Yeah,
dude, Vince, you would love that
to.
if you haven't seen that.
What's it on?
Max.
I think we have that.
Formerly HBO.
I'm pretty sure we have that. Yeah. I'll fire it up.
Really cool. It's talk about unexpected. Like, it's a sci-fi, but like they're in an alien world, but they do crazy alien shit. Like, it's like the physics of the world, the anatomy, the plants, the animals, none of it is like anything we've ever seen, which is always one of my complaints about a lot of sci-fi, right? Is that like it's basically like hot humans with different colored skin, but I get like back in the day it's because we didn't have special effects budget and stuff, but this is just completely, the whole thing feels alien, like the way they, like this, the opening scene is them, there's this giant rhinoceros type alien creature, and they cut it open and dive into it and go in, and they up in the guts, and they pull out like intestines from it, and they use that as wiring for their ship because they figured out that it's a conduit for electricity. Like, and then the beast is like totally fine. He's got like all these healed scars because they've clearly done it many times before. It's pretty neat. Very cool.
Sounds good to me.
Yeah, it definitely has definite Mobius
cool
vibe. Definite Mobius.
Yes.
Wow.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's a high bar, dude. I don't know if you should be throwing words around like that.
No, dude, I'm telling you, dude. I'm telling
Check
you.
it out, though.
It's like sci-fi Nausicaa.
Huh.
Like space, not sci-fi, space, like meaning Nausicaa is kind of sci-fi too. It's like space Nausicaa.
There you go.
It's real good.
Cool.
Brian Clark turned me onto it, but
You got to watch him. He does that.
He's a sly one, that one.
He
Sneaky
is.
bastard, yeah.
Good looking, talented, good taste. He's
Good
He's a
taste,
keeper.
yeah.
He's a keeper.
Wow.
Well, I can't compliment my friends now.
You definitely
Send
can.
your attributes.
Nah, I'm just a little jealous. That's all.
I mean, I say the same things to you when you're not around.
There you go. If a tree falls in the woods and nobody's around,
Yeah.
does it make a sound? I don't think so.
Now, our listeners know that we have a little Slack where we post what we've been reading. And I feel like at the start of this show, Vince looked at my list and he was just like, eh.
Yeah.
And there's only 3 things on there. So, Ice Cream Man being one of them. And I know we just heard he like that. The other 2 things on there, one I'm sure he probably has never heard of, so it couldn't be that. And that's The Boys Weekend, right? I'm sure you've never heard of that.
That sounds like
He's
a
partaken,
book
but,
that
he
would
has never
please
read
a
the book.
certain subsection of our Slack.
Well, okay. And then, so you must have, the third thing on the list, which is Monica.
I did.
Are you not a Clowes fan?
No, I am a Clowes fan. Yes.
I thought you were, because I remember years ago I had never read 8 Ball, and you were like baffled by that.
Yeah, love it. Love 8 Ball.
Right. So, okay.
Why
meh?
It's not meh. It was more just to crack open my head. Clowes is celebrated for his abilities within a very vocal group of people that read comics.
Yeah. This book is getting all the
Yes, I know.
all the flowers thrown at it. Yeah.
Yeah.
it's had like it's one of those transcendent books, right? Like it's gotten major write-ups in like New York Times, The Guardian, Washington Post. Like it's one of those books that is. He's at the point in his life, I think, where he's moved into the literary, the burlap, like the patch, the elbow patched elbow pad, kind of like university literary crowd praising these books.
Yeah, he's the Art Spiegelman of his generation.
Mm-hmm.
Widely accepted by those that even don't read comics.
Mm-hmm.
Well discussed by those who do appreciate comics of that stripe.
Sure.
I don't know how to phrase this without sounding like an asshole. Where I have to wonder going in, while I have enjoyed the majority of his work, I have to wonder how much of the accolades are earned and how much are just thrown around because, well, it's Dan Clowes, right? He's the poster child for alt comics, or the poster man, I guess at this point, and can seemingly do no wrong. Everything he does is trumpeted from the rooftops. And going into something like that, it's a cumbersome start for me because I'm experiencing the work on one level, and on the other, I'm like, well, fuck. If this person champions this book, and I don't find anything of, or I find little of value in the book, is it the problem with me? Or the more a creative person is celebrated for everything they do, the less willing I am to engage in that stuff. I eventually will. I'm going to read Monica. I mean, yes, I will. But I'm hesitant just because it's Dan Clowes and everybody's like, writing sonnets for his majesty. Like so yes.
I find that, I hear what you're saying. I find it fascinating though that you would have that viewpoint only because I feel like you stand tall and proud of saying you don't give a fuck about what other people say about books, like good, bad, or indifferent.
Yes, on the one hand, I do very much feel that. If I like something, you're going to know about it. But but
you even remember a few years ago, you got like angry with me that I do the year-end list and then use that as a thing to buy books. And you're like, why would other people's opinions about a book shape what you buy? And
exactly.
Read?
I'm talking about people I care about. I'm not talking about the faceless critics.
We had a discussion at the time that I just don't like. We just don't see the world the same way. Like I think if 15 different critics of comics all talk about a book being great, that's enough for me to give it a try. I mean, ultimately agree that it's a great book, but I certainly think that it's been vetted enough that it's something that I want to check out.
Sure. But yeah, it's just.
So there's a part of it that you've just read so much Clowes that you wonder if this is going to hit you as much because you feel like you just get what he's about now. Yeah,
I mean, there are. I'd be totally honest. There were some Clowes books that didn't really click with me, and I felt the subject matter was, I guess, for lack of a better term, mundane. Like it's the same thing with Chris Ware. Like I love Chris Ware's work primarily because of the visuals, but the actual germ of what he's doing within the narrative, like I whatever. These people are lonely. Yeah, I get it. And again, it goes back to the suffering thing. But with Clowes,
but yeah, you like I know you're a big fan of like Nick Dornasso, right? Like Nancy and the like. But yeah, no, I get. I get what you're saying.
I'm totally forthcoming. Like it's a 100% my problem.
Right.
Where for me, Dan Clowes never got better than like a Velvet Fist. Cast and Night, like that's Clowes to me. But he's done more successful work not only in terms of dollar value, but aesthetically, he's done more successful work than Velvet Glove. But to me, that's my Dan Clowes. Whenever I read something, that story is the one he has to beat. So when people whose opinion I value says, "Oh man, this thing was fucking great. You got to read it. It's so complex." I'll be totally honest. Aside from our book in the month, my mindset is not in complex right now. I don't want something that's gonna, in the moment right now. It'll change. You know, you had your period. I have my. I'm in the candy consumption phase. I just want books that are going to make me feel good right now, or feel something nostalgic or traditional, or just plain old superhero, chaos. That's fine. I really don't want to read Monica in the mindset I'm in now for the reasons I detailed, and I'm just not in the right headspace for it right now.
Sure, that makes all the sense in the world.
Yeah. But tell me why I should read it, Jason, because you are one of the pool of people whose opinion I do value.
Well, I mean, I love the way you framed it, because I think especially in this theme I keep getting back to of like infinite entertainment now, right? I think so much of our general feelings of like a genre or the industry is somewhat shaped about when we read, what we read.
True.
And the vibe, right? Like you said, like you're in a mood right now, like you're loving stuff like this, like the symbiotes, and it's just like tickling you. It's not deep.
It's my annual travels.
Right, that's what I'm saying, right? But it's your vibe right now. That's cool. And I think we get into that mode, and then, if we didn't do the show, maybe it'd be easier to, I don't know if easier is the word, but maybe we'd be more apt to just like really quickly course correct and be like, I'm not feeling like that stuff right now. Whereas, I think with the show, we probably read more consistently, but also we try and read what each other are into, or we just it's a balance, right? We've talked about this a lot. It's not, our reading habits would probably not be completely the same if we didn't do the show. But with that said, I think to your point, like Monica is specifically, so we've been dancing around this, but Monica is the first graphic novel by Dan Clowes in 7 years. Which, to your point, in and of itself was, we were sure this book was going to get discussed, if not praised, because Clowes is beloved and he hasn't put out something in a long time. And it is complex, very complex. It is not a book that you can sit down like a half hour before, and just like pound it out and be like, oh yeah, it was great, right? Like, this is not the big game, right? Which is just like Clowes is like the anti-Mark Miller, right? Like he's like, they're on opposite ends of the spectrum, and I enjoy them both very much. But with you setting up the way you did, it's gonna feel a little weird for me to say I think it's a masterpiece. Like, I think I think the praise that it may or may not be getting, well, that it is getting broadly from non-comic-y circles, I'll leave that to the literary, wonks to discuss amongst themselves whether it's worthy of that. But as a comic book fan, I think it's the best thing he's done probably since we've started the podcast. Which kind of lines up with what you're saying. Like, I don't disagree with you. Like, his 8-Ball stuff is like so good and put him on the map. It's like everything else is kind of trying to live up to that. I'm not even going to sit here and tell you like it's 8-Ball, because he's an older man now. It's a different story. It's a different type of story. But it's a really remarkably well done book. And I actually did sit down to read this like the second day of our vacation, and I was just not I was like, okay, this isn't the time for this. Like, I'm like, maybe I'll come back to it. And then I've been home. Beth's been still down there, so I've been home for like four or 5 days, by myself, me and Holden. But so I'm like, so I sat down yesterday and was like, okay, I have some time, and I sat down and then like started from scratch again, started the book over, and really got into it and thought, okay, no, I'm in the mood this time. I know what I'm getting into, and I just went with it. And it is a very complex story that spans the life of the titular characters. I mean, from literally from her birth to her death. Monica is, we see Monica as a very young child all the way through her death. and it's done in chapter form. Each chapter is like a different time period, most of which revolve around Monica directly, but some revolve around other people in her life. Like the first chapter is about her mom, like as a young woman who's finding herself after high school. But it is real. I mean, I think the thing that's great about Clowes, and probably why, is he's incredibly sardonic. And much like humor, like I always talk about how humor is so subjective that it's hard to make a humor book that is widely loved because everybody's sense of humor is different. Like you make an action book or action movie, you know, it is what it is. People know what they're getting into. It's either adrenaline pumping or it's not. You make a comedy and I could watch it and think it's hilarious, and you guys could watch it and think it's fucking not funny at all, right? Like that's just the nature of comedy. I think it's the same with the kind of books that Clowes does. Like sardonic stuff is almost like another type of humor. It's really obviously it's not meant to make you laugh, but it's also similar in that I think there's probably plenty of people that just don't enjoy reading sardonic stories, and I can't say they're wrong for that. Like it's definitely puts you in a certain mindset, and I could easily see why that kind of story is a turnoff to people. Like no questions asked. If you were like, oh god, I can't stand Clowes, like I would get that. I could get it. Now I personally love sardonic stories. I think they're great when they're well done. So that's a big plus for me. And this is probably like one of the lesser sardonic books he's ever done. But at its core, it still is. Like basically the story is that Monica was born to a young, like early 20s woman named Penny in the late 60s. And Penny was straight out of like Forrest Gump, Jenny, like straight out of that, like flower girl, falling in love over and over again, always putting herself in a bad situation, ends up abandoning Monica to her parents, and then Monica's raised by her grandparents, and then she goes on to have a life that's like full of great success, but often in homage to her mom or in memory of. She never sees her mom again. She never met her dad, and like I said, we follow all the way through her death, and it's one of those books where it's clear that Clowes is like reflecting on lots of really big topics that maybe because of my age I can empathize with, you know, just your life, like how much your environment and your parents affect who you are for good and for bad, even if they're not in your life, right? Like just the nature versus nurture aspect, like just there are people who've never met a parent, and yet they probably have tons of traits just like them if they ever did meet them, right? And it's just, he deals with all that, but in a very creative way. The other thing I will say that, and maybe this will draw you to it, Vince, he does these interstitials in the book, and the interstitials are by design drawn to be evocative of EC comics. There's like a war comic pastiche. There's a romance comics pastiche. And he's such a great cartoonist that like this stuff's beautiful, and it definitely evokes that vibe that he's going for, so he hits the mark there. And it's just a really thought-provoking, lovely look at the imperfect nature of like one's life, and that your life is full of times when you're really happy, full of times when you're really sad, full of times that are relatively mundane. Like if we look back at anyone's life, there's periods of pretty mundane existence, even if you've had an interesting life from an outside perspective. And I think he just encapsulates that in a way that is hard to do on paper, and he does it in a way that's just, I found, completely engrossing. And I don't know that I can say he's breaking new ground here, because like you opened up with, he's had such a storied career and is so beloved that like I don't know that he's like stretching any new muscles per se, but I think it was really well done. And we've had a lot of these return to form books the last few years where a creator hasn't done a book in a long time and then they finally put it out, and I think this is definitely up there with all of those. I know you guys, I liked Monsters, you guys loved it, but I think it's in that same ilk, right? I mean, I guess 7 years away isn't the same as 20, but I also think Clowes is a much more prolific writer than Windsor Smith was. So it's like, you know what? It's kind of reminds me of like when Asterios Polyp came, right? And everyone was like, "Oh, what's Mazzucchelli been up to?" And then for me, like it hit. Like I think it was worth the wait. Same thing here. I think it was absolutely worth the wait. I mean, I think it's a wonderful book, and it you can be as simple as, if you are a Dan Clowes fan, you'll love this book. But keeping in mind that you do have to be in a certain mindset. Like, if you just want feel good comics in the moment, yeah, I wouldn't sit there and read Monica right now. It's a little, it's a little bit more serious than that. But I was in the right mood, and I think that again, I'm not going to sit here today and tell you like where I think it fits in the pantheon of his works, but I think it was an excellent addition to his very incredible bibliography.
Give me a couple weeks.
Yeah.
I just don't understand the readers that can bring home a stack on any given day and just plow through, say, a big 2 book, and then read Monica, and then read Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles, and then something else from just insert alt comics person here. Like, to shift your perceptions or your mindset in tandem with whatever it is you're reading, taking into account where your head is at the time. Like, you've just read, I don't know, just say the Hulk, right? And now you've got to read Monica. Like, it's those things. It's like watching Citizen Kane, to use a often used example of a great movie, and then put on Wayne's World. Like, they're two different things. It requires a different part of your being to appreciate both of them. I'm not saying one is better than the other, but they're just two different examples of work in a medium, right? So I need something that just levels me off and lets me just remove myself from the work and then go into it when the noggin is ready for it. So yeah, I think it's awesome that people can do that, but yeah, I can't. You know me. I have to prepare the room. So I don't know. But I'm going to get to it. It's on the list. I have it. I need to tune myself to the experience.
I know we've sung their praises many, many times over the years, but Fantagraphics is so incredible. And not necessarily because of any, like, it gets back to what we were saying earlier. It's just Fantagraphics finds a way to give us comics that are different than other things that we can get, and I think that's their special sauce. And it's almost impossible for me to believe that anyone could love everything the Fantagraphics puts out. It's so varied.
Yeah,
but it's also impossible for me to believe that if someone's open-minded and is looking for unique experiences, that they couldn't find things they love in Fantagraphics catalog.
I think I will agree with you. I think Fantagraphics is incredible, but more so back in the day than now, because I think they have a lot of output these days, and I think their hit to miss ratio is much more is much lower now than it was. I mean, it may baffle you and surprise you, but I think, like, yes, they do have their monsters and their their Monicas and those books that just seem to click, and their Hanselmans, right? But like with Fantagraphics Underground and stuff, they put out a lot of product, and just I mean 100% honest. A lot of it's not good. It's just different. It's just I look at my shelves and I have a shit ton of Fantagraphics books. A lot of them are just weird, odd, outsider stuff that just for the sake of it. And these people need an outlet. I get it, and I respect it and admire it. But I look at the Fantagraphics spread in the previews, and I'm thinking, okay, how much of this stuff do I really want to read? Like, yeah, this looks strange and odd, but is it going to be any different than the strange and odd thing I read from them last month? other than coming from a different voice. You know, but I think their saving grace for me is the consistency of the Disney product. You can always find something at Fantagraphics worth reading because of the archival editions of the Disney characters and the quote newer or more contemporary stuff that they've been putting out. That's a surety when it comes to Fantagraphics for me. But then when I get into the underground stuff, I'm like, that's not doing anything for me. Why do I want to read that? So, but they do continue to put out remarkable work. It's just that I think they put out so much work that the number of remarkable things is lower than the stuff that's just off the beaten path and odd. Am I a curmudgeon? I don't know. But when you look at the stable of Fantagraphics books going back a few years, like, it was all landmark, legendary stuff. Almost to a book, where it was just masterpiece stuff from amazing creators like Woodring and Los Brothers Hernandez and Clowes and stuff. Like, it was like, holy crap, how could one publisher publish all this stuff? And now with the other stuff, like, I get Johnny Ryan and I like his stuff, but, you know, is it comparable to any of those creators I just mentioned? No, not really. I love Prison Pit, but is it Love and Rockets level? Like, what is, right? I don't know. Maybe I'm jaded. I just think that they're putting out way too much stuff now, where in the past it seemed to be more curated with a more discerning eye, whereas now it's like, yeah, your shit's weird. We'll put it out. I don't know.
Well, one, like you said, they label that stuff. It's distinctive. It's underground, right? It's Fantagraphics underground. So it's like they're not kind of like mishmashing it all. They are saying this is a different type of thing.
Sure.
So, but I don't know. I'm sitting here looking at the stuff they put out in the last 3 years, and I'm seeing banger after banger myself. So I'm not sure I'm with you because I'm like, oh shit. Like it's pretty ridiculous. I think their output's been.
Well, I mean, I have a bunch of Fantagraphics books that were good. But I don't think they're on a level of their great stuff.
Monsters.
Yeah.
Crisis Zone.
Yeah.
You wouldn't put them as great books?
Yes, I would. No, I would. I would definitely
those
put
are
them.
like in the last 2 years.
But I can't rattle off titles because unless I bring up my list of ordered books but there was like what was it, Goblin Girl or whatever, that was good. But it wasn't. It was just good. Like, it wasn't like, holy shit, this is amazing. Like, that's what you walk away from those books you mentioned. Like, you read Crisis Zone, it's like, holy shit, this guy's magic. But I think those books are few and far between. Let me see.
I don't know, dude. All right. I mean, now you got Spa, loved it. Crisis Zone. I mean, again, I'm not.
Spa was good, but it was just good. Like, did that?
Can't agree there.
Oh,
Monsters, Ephemera. Men I Trust. My favorite thing is Monsters is an all-timer. Garden of Flesh, and speaking of Hernandez, Dog Biscuits was phenomenal.
Phenomenal?
Yes, absolutely.
Okay.
One Beautiful Spring Day, Woodring's book was incredible. Ultrasound is going to be on tons of 11 o'clockers this list this year, including my own.
Didn't like it.
Okay, well, I mean, maybe you're just, you want to read Symbiotes. That's cool, and that's cool. Like, you're not in the right vibe. I mean, it's different.
Oh, my God.
No, I'm saying, like, I mean, it's just a different vibe. I mean, that's fine. There's nothing wrong with it. Blubber was a blast. Another Hernandez book.
But, yeah, you're talking about the tried and true creators here.
Katie Skelly, My Pretty Vampire.
No.
I mean, sure.
No.
I loved it. Okay, I loved it. I mean... Dude, I mean, I can keep going, but I'm just saying, like, the Star Seeds books.
Okay, yeah, Glaubitz is great. Yes.
Keeping Two was great. I'm just going through the
what
list
is that?
alphabetically here. Keeping Two?
I don't know what that is.
Okay, well, I talked
Who
about
did
it?
it?
Show. Talked about on the show. That's cool, though.
Oh, yeah, like you listen to everything I say.
Jordan Crane did it.
Yeah.
No One Else. Art Hugo Johnson's one that he did, his follow-up. That was great. Why Art, Eleanor Davis, phenomenal.
It was okay.
Oh my god, dude! Boys Club, Matt Fury, phenomenal.
I like Matt's work. It's
How
good.
to Make a Monster, Casanova Frankenstein's autobio. Dude, the Mulot repair books, Olympia was fucking great. Dude.
I don't know if I would say it was effing great. It was good.
Oh, you're crazy. Grand Odalisque was phenomenal. I mean, I think
that one you talked about.
Almost all these books are like, to me, the best books I've read in the last 5 years. Like, so
but the one you talked about the art thieves or whatever.
Yeah, that's Olympia.
Yeah, it was okay. It was good. It
was phenomenal.
Okay,
dude, Nathan Cowdery, Crash Site.
Okay.
All right, man.
I'm not saying
live in that.
No, I'm not saying those works are not worth reading.
Venom World, just do you do.
I'm just again. Why do you have to disparage those books?
I just think like you're saying like all of this. There's too. It's just ironic to me that you're saying Fantagraphics is putting out too much stuff that dilutes the quality of what they're doing, and then you talk about Marvel every week. Like Marvel puts out 120 books a month, and 110 of them suck dick.
These publishers, why do you got to get like that? These publishers do what they do. My Fantagraphics, again, I don't know how to justify this. I just think it's like when you're online and somebody says they like something. Somebody says, yeah, it was okay. And like, what do you mean it was okay? It was more than okay. It changed my friggin' world. That's your perspective. You can't demean a person for not having the same feelings about a work that you do. Get it? Like I'm just overjoyed that you're finding joy in all of this Fantagraphic stuff. I love the publisher. They're one of my top publishers, but they haven't been clicking with me as strongly as they have in the past. That's all. I'm not saying that they're not worth reading.
We gotta steer you back.
Okay. Great. I'm there.
Now they have put out some bad stuff too. Don't get me wrong. I skipped over some bad books.
What were the bad books?
Golden Boy was terrible. The one about Beethoven.
I find it very curious that you intentionally omitted some in your.
I was saving it. I was saving it for you. I'm going to give you some bad ones. Metax was terrible.
Yes.
Man in Furs was like okay, but it wasn't okay. What I hoped it would be. Yeah. I'm just being fair. I was fucking with you there. But I'm going to be fair. I didn't think Red Ultramarine was very good. See if I skipped over any other ones, but like there were some other praised ones that I thought were like eh. Let me see here.
Where's your list? Send me the link.
No, I'm just looking at Fantagraphics. I'm just clicking through their pages. I didn't read Songy in Paradise, but I remember you saying you weren't that. Right, you weren't. Were you not too into that? I didn't read it, so I can't speak to that one. Oh, Aqua Atlantic. We neither of us liked that very much.
Not at all. Yes.
Didn't like that. Yeah. I didn't like Forsman's. The last one he did. I'm not okay with this. Didn't like that.
Yeah, but they have Hanselman. Hanselman is one of my guiding lights, right?
Yeah.
So, I'm definitely not burning the house down on Fantagraphics. It's just.
I mean, you're pouring the gasoline near the foundation now. I think you're ready to light it up.
No, I'm not. I love Fantagraphics.
We're gonna have fisticuffs from Fantagraphics as my publisher of the year in 2 months.
And hey, if that's what is your choice, that's your choice, right?
Flayed Corpse wasn't very good.
Is that Josh Simmons?
Yeah.
Now, see, I like that.
Well, yeah. I just thought it was. I guess I was hoping it was better.
Yeah, I like that.
I was hoping for more. There you go.
Yeah,
I got to read some Hanselman.
And again, I thought Lure was terrible.
Lure was bad. Yeah, we both agreed that was bad.
Yeah. But
I don't think they're great with the sci-fi. I think they need to stay away from the sci-fi.
I think the last Ben Mara book was not good.
Oh, the
Disciples.
Disciples.
I didn't enjoy that.
Nah, I'm with you there. That fell real flat.
What was it? Slash Them All. Didn't get it. I know you like that.
No, I thought that was pretty flat too.
I thought it was average.
I thought because I read them, I think I read them at the exact. I read those both in the same week, and I thought, oh, Godhead, I didn't think was very good. The sequel, whatever that was, Godhead Volume 2, whatever it was, it just came out. Hochi Anderson. I didn't like the original Godhead either. So,
like, I love Megan Kelso, but I had read a lot of those Artichoke stories as they were coming out, so I don't consider that a quote new book. But it was good. I don't like the Cloven. The Seed, whatever. No, I mean, yeah. But point being, they have their catalog is. I
can't speak to what the size of the catalog is now versus like 10 years ago. Because like 10 years ago, I was playing catch up, reading all the bangers that I've never read.
It just seems like they have 3 pages every previews. And some of it is taken up.
So much of that is reprint, though.
Right, the Disney stuff. Yeah. But that's my comfort zone. So yeah.
No, I don't even. I mean, like so much of that is resolicit. Like more than half the stuff they have in previews every month is like stuff they've already solicited before, and they're bringing it back to your attention.
Right.
Anywho, Fantagraphics rules.
They do. They rule hard. Hey, everybody. Thanks for listening to this. We hope you come back next time. Remember, if you want to save big on omnibus editions, trade paperbacks, graphic novels, I'm going to kill you. Go away. My son is here. Sorry.
Oh, Vinny Beats.
Yeah, big dude. He's got a shirt that says big dude. There's not
is there an arrow pointing down?
There's not truth in advertising there. All you got to do is go to cheapgraphicnovels.com because you will save on all that stuff. Remember, reply to the confirmation email saying 11 o'clock comics told me to come here and save. And Max will wave the magic wand of savings, boink, right in the forehead, and you will get free shipping on your next order. Very simple. Also, if you would be so kind, come to our Patreon page, patreon.com/11 o'clock comics. Audio, 4 hours, sometimes 5 hours of audio that no one else gets to hear, delivered right to your device. Every month, video, pages, fanzines. You can join in on the book of the month. Let your voice be known. And the best part, the dedicated Slack channel. Jason talks about it all the time because he loves it. We all love it. Where we all gather every day just to talk about stuff. It doesn't necessarily have to be comics. I mean, that's a major part of it. But we talk about everything. TV shows, books. There's a book club within the Slack that they gather every month to talk about a book they read. They have fun. We all have fun.
Patreon. They're engaged AF too. Like, it's a whole side pocket because none of the three of us really are involved in it.
I wish I could. I just, who has that much time?
No, I know. I mean, it's amazing to me the people that are in there that take the time to read at least one novel each month to talk about it. And they almost all read a ton of comics, too.
I know. It's baffling. Do you not work? You got to work.
Well, I think Larry wouldn't be a slacker anymore if it wasn't for the book club. I don't think he reads comics anymore, but keeps...
But that's the thing. Even people that have moved away from comics for the time being, they find something of value within the Slack group.
It's true.
That's wonderful. Patreon.com/11 o'clock comics. In your travels, I am aware that Jason's going to make fun of me, but guess what? I don't care. In your travels, I want you to read Carnage #1.
God, I love you so much.
Written, I'm going to butcher this name, and I'm so sorry. Written by Torunn Gronbekk. Torunn Gronbekk. Art by Perez. Color by Erick Arciniega. This is a new series. It picks up right after the end of Death of Venomverse. Now, I'm not going to go into what Death of Venomverse, the complexities of it, but Carnage is popping across the multiverse, killing all the symbiotes. And as he does that, he extracts their power. The end, big spoiler, the end of Death of Venomverse, Carnage killed Null. So our boy, well, he's not Cletus Cassidy anymore. It's just the Carnage symbiote. Has now ascended to the level of godhood. So in this new Carnage series, he takes that quite seriously. Because he enters into this omnipotent city. It's called the Nexus of the Gods. And he doesn't kill, but he maims the Lord Librarian and steals a black hole. The Lord Librarian has a black hole in his staff. He steals the black hole staff thing, the power of it, and goes back to where it all began, Rikers Island. So he's in the cell in Rikers Island, and he consumes the prisoner there. Why? Why would he do that? Well, number one, because he's Carnage. He likes to kill. But two, it's very biblical. He feels like a god should have an earthly counterpart. So what he does is he plumbs the depths of the symbiote codex, and from memory, from having Cassidy as his host for so long, he regrows a Cletus. It's not Cletus, but for all intents and purposes, it is an organism that in every way resembles Cletus Cassidy. But it has all of Cassidy's memories, all of his feelings, all that shit. But it is a product of the god Carnage. It is his, quote, son on earth. Like I said, very freaking biblical. And as a god, Carnage believes that he should have acolytes. He should be worshipped as the god he is. So he goes on this killing spree where he seems to kill people with biblical names. Strange. I guess it's just an excuse to kill. But enters into the picture. Who do you think enters into the picture? Flash Thompson. Okay? Flash is down on his luck. He is in the guise of the anti-venom. He's not dead anymore. He's in the guise of the anti-venom, and he feels like something's up. And that's just the entirety of the issue. But it really focuses on, one, Carnage's ascendancy to godhood and how he translates that into his actions. And Flash Thompson's life sucks. He's looking for something to occupy or to make his life worth living, I guess. And he can't get drunk. He's in a bar in this because of the symbiote. He can't get drunk. And he needs just something to just deaden the pain of existence. And would you know it, Carnage pops up just at the right time. So it's a whole bunch of killing, a whole bunch of Cletus. Dap would not like this book. It's just savagery. It's a massacre. One of the shortcomings, I think the writer could have really hammered home the whole biblical angle, was Cletus is in a restaurant, a diner, and the waitress, her name is not Mary, but I think it should have been. Her name's Sarah or something. But she's talking to him about, really deep stuff like belief, and he's going through the Bible, and he's remarking it in his current mindset. And had her name been Mary, I think it would have been more appropriate to the storyline. That was just one missed opportunity. But I thought the issue was fun. Again, don't expect anything deep. I think it's more deep than the average symbiote book, because now we're talking about belief and worship. But I do think that Marvel is writing themselves into a corner with Carnage, because after you kill Null and you've extracted all, you can basically do anything. Where do you go from here? Like, where's Gronbekk going to take this story when now you have this character that's a god? What do you do next? I don't know. Maybe we're going to get a whole string of issues where a cult of Carnage, that's appropriate because Marvel has a cult of Carnage, where these worshippers show up to do his bidding, or I don't know where the book is going to go. But I think they should tread very lightly, because you're writing a series about a god. where do you take it from there? We'll see, right? Read Carnage #1. It's sticky and messy and everything a Carnage book should be, and it has an Evil Dead 2 pastiche cover.
Mm.
Yeah.
There you go.
Yeah. I liked it. It
Seems like it.
Yeah, it scratched my itch that I continue to have for the symbiotes. So yay.
Yeah.
Yay.
In your travels, a couple of things that I was going to that were in the running for me in your travels are all nearing the end. So I'll go with the #1 myself from Marvel. Written by Alyssa Wong, art by Jan Bazaldua, and colors by Bryan Valenza. This is the new volume, the new Captain Marvel ongoing. Decided to check it out on a whim. Art's great. Jan knows what they're doing. We have the return of the Negabands in a Captain Marvel book, and there's a villain that Carol is fighting at the start of the issue. Goes by the name Omen, a winged goth Shrike-looking character, and they Omen kind of just like absorbs Carol into this like black void, and then they disappear. So then we cut to Brooklyn, where a young woman by the name of Yuna Yang is breaking into an apartment very many stories above the ground. She manages to get inside the apartment, and she is looking for the Negabands, and they appear when Janice Vell and the Omen come crashing through the wall in a fight. What I found interesting is while Yuna is wandering around the apartment looking for what she's looking for, there is a framed photo on the wall that says Rick and Marlowe from 2020. And never see Rick, but we see Janice doesn't do too well in this fight. So Yuna ends up picking up the Negabands and happens to swap places with Carol. And then Carol again comes back to fighting the Omen while having a conversation with Yuna, who of course is in the negative zone. That's all I'll say for now. There's a little bit of something interesting that happens with Janice at the end of the issue, so we'll see where it goes from there. But I kind of dig Yuna as far as an introduction to a new character, or first time for me to see her. I was enjoying the conversation between Carol and her new friend. But yeah, this was pretty fun. I didn't know. I said after Kelly's run with the book, I wasn't sure where things were going to go with Carol. She's recommitted herself to the Avengers, but Alyssa threw it all in here with more than one Marvel, and a pretty. She doesn't appear to be that much of a badass, but the way she handles herself against Carol and against Janice Vell, the Omen, seems to be pretty threatening. But yeah, I'll check out the second issue, see where we're going from there. But in your travels, Captain Marvel #1.
What up, Danvers? Shout out. Yeah, in your travels, it's the third thing that was on my list, and I knew that Vince didn't know anything about this yet because I don't think it'd be something he'd pre-order. This is called Boys Weekend, and it is written and drawn by Mattie Lubchansky. That name may be familiar to some. Mattie's a well-known satirist. Used to be one of the regulars on the Nib. And I think this might be Mattie's second OGN, but it's the first that I've read of their work. Mattie is a trans feminine person, born a male, but in the process of transitioning to female. And the story is, the inspiration for it was actually based on an experience Mattie had shortly after publicly acknowledging her transition. She attended a bachelor party with her college male buddies and had to, as you might imagine, deal with some awkward and uncomfortable moments because her college friends, many hadn't seen her since those days, and it was probably understandably awkward, right? They didn't, I think, really know how to handle it, and anyway, she took inspiration from that and created this book. And I will say this is a tale of two books, because the beginning of the story is very much about that, her being very nervous about, she's been asked to be the best man of the wedding of one of their good friends. And yes, I say best man because that's how she was asked, would you be my best man? And so she's very nervous about it, even though the groom is fully aware of her transition and accepting of it. There's still the issue of pronouns and gender and accepting it, and all of and the groom and all of Mattie's other friends are still referring to Mattie as buddy or pal or guy or my dude, that kind of thing. But she's determined to go on the bachelor trip because she doesn't want to lose connection with these people that she does hold dear, even if there is an awkwardness to it now. So she goes to the bachelor party, and hijinks ensue, and they go to a place. It's not Vegas. It's called El Campo, which is a fictional island that they go to. That's that's this super high tech, ultra Vegas, if you will, anything goes type of a place. And they have a very debauchery filled, testosterone filled bachelor weekend that she has to endure and handle in her own way. And at first I'm reading it, I'm thinking like, okay, I mean, cool, like whatever. I mean, it's fine, but there wasn't really anything that was gripping me in any meaningful way. But then shit gets weird, and Mattie totally wins me over in the second half because they're in El Campo and they're doing their thing, and it's all fairly predictable. The back and forth between them and the awkwardness between them, it's all kind of very predictable. But then while they're there, also at the resort at the same time as a convention for what looks like a bunch of finance bros, but they're interacting more and more with them, and it turns out that this isn't a bunch of finance bros, they're a cult. And the cult is like converting people, including some of her homies. So over the course of this weekend, like all her homies basically get Invasion of the Body Snatchers, like brainwashed into being part of this crazy cult. And then the cult is fucking a cult worshipping a Cthulhu-like dark god. And so it goes from this like slice of life about what it's like to be trans in America today with a comedic bent into this crazy sci-fi dark adventure where Mattie becomes the heroine of the story trying to save the world from this dark god. And like I said, I mean, I'm reading it and thinking, okay, it's fun, slice of life, kind of been there, done that before, but okay, well executed, into this crazy, fun, over-the-top, fictional adventure with Cthulhu vibes. And so kudos to Mattie for taking me to a place I didn't expect partway through the book, and for my mind, really amping it up and making it a far more entertaining and memorable book. Lubchansky's art style is very evocative of like Max Sarin from Giant Days, that kind of vibe. And I think it works really well with this story, which is this over the top stuff and really emotive faces and humor. So a really fun work. Really glad I read it, and a dark horse for one of the better comedy graphic novels of the year. So Mattie Lubchansky's Boys Weekend. And the publisher is Pantheon.
Nice.
Mm-hmm.
There you go. All right, everybody. Here's the drill. Thanks for listening. Get yourselves to a comic book shop. Buy some comics or online. That's cool. Just get them wherever you get them. Talk about them. Love them. Come back next week because chances are we'll probably be talking about them too. Do yourself. That's right. Do yourself a solid and say good night. Aw. David.
And while we're waiting for him to do that, we have business, Vince. You forgot about the business.
I did forget about the business. We'll get to it.
Oh, okay. All
right.
Oh, boy. Starting from scratch. Nice.
David. And December's book of the month is World Without End.
John Higgins.
That's business number one.
Jimmy Delano. Yes. I have
Nice.
that. I have that bound. Custom bound.
Oh, nice! Really?
Yeah.
Well, I guess that speaks to how much you must be a fan of it. Then
I do love it. Yes.
I've never read it. I'm very excited to read it.
Yep.
What else business do we have, Vince?
Well, it's that time of year. We're getting close to the end of 2023, and you know what that means. We need to switch out our album art on everything we release. So, this is what we do. We float it on out there. Any creative types that want to throw their aesthetic hats into the ring and produce an album art for us, we would love to accept it. And you're in the running. We do a little contest, little thing, where we take all the submissions and we have people vote on them, and then we weigh our we weigh our choices, and the winner gets to represent 11 O'Clock Comics on every little piece of audio thing we release for the entire year. Plus, we pimp your work, and maybe you'll get some other work out of it. Who knows? I'm not making this very enticing, but it's a thing. We have a contest, and we hope you submit something. Here's the only restriction. Has to be square format, 300 DPI. So you want to do 4x4, 6x6, 8x8. I don't care. As long as it's 300 DPI and I can successfully translate it to a JPEG in terms of resolution. Got to be clear, got to be crisp. And you'll be a star. 11 O'Clock Comic star, joining the ranks of many luminaries who have preceded you.
Damn straight.
Yep. It's a fun thing.
It is. We've had some incredible logos over the years. And also, one final piece of business. The 11 O'Clockers fast approaches. We are a month away from the year end, which means you have read 11/12ths of what you're going to read this year, give or take. So, many people get overwhelmed by the 30-plus categories and feel like they don't know what to do. So, the good news is you don't need to answer all at once. It's not a test. You can go to our website, 11o'clockcomics.com. DAP has created a handy-dandy tab right at the top left. It will take you to the ballot. It's a Google form, and you can fill it out. If you use your email address, at least a real email address that you can retrieve, it will allow you to, it'll save your work. So you can go in, and if you just read the manga that you're sure is going to be your favorite manga, you can go in and just fill that in for your favorite manga of the year, and it'll be there when you come back. And then if you're going to do some catch-up, the point is you can do it piecemeal. You can change your answers until we close the balloting, which we won't do until like mid-January when it's time to do the show itself. But please do go there. And as we did last year, and when we did this last year, they weren't a sponsor, but now they are. We have a prize powered through cheapgraphicnovels.com, and it will be a gift certificate to that fantastic website. And the winner will be a random drawing from someone who submitted a ballot that I view as complete. And I define that as at least 25 categories. If you fill out 25 categories, it's a complete ballot. And we will pick a winner on the episode itself, and that person will get the gift certificate. And the amount you get is directly correlated to the number of you that participate. So it maxes out, I believe, at $100, I think. I should look at that. I don't have it in front of me, but I believe it maxes out at $100, and it's certainly going to be no less than $50. But yeah, you can win good prizes. You can win. I believe last year's person bought an Omniboo with their winnings.
Yeah, you can win great prizes. $100.
Absolutely. Yeah.
Goes a long way at cheapgraphicnovels.com.
On a good day, it's 2 Omniboo for $100 at Cheap Graphic Novels. So, so please do. We'll remind you periodically over the coming weeks to check out the ballot. But yep, it's right on the website now. You can't miss it. So,
FYI, we have a Marvel-O-Rama this week.
Yeah, we
you mean you have a Oh no, Dad's talking about. Okay,
yeah. Come on. I play fair. 2 is an O-Rama.
You see, they put out a Nightcrawler Origins book this week.
yeah.
X-Men Blue.
Blue X. Yeah.
Yeah, I didn't read it yet. From what I've been seeing, the reception is not positive.
It's not been good. No.
Well, they didn't do themselves any favors with that solicit.
It's so true, dude.
Yeah.
Instant collector's item. All right.
Come on, that was the standard back in the day. Everything was an
back
instant.
in the day.
But then maybe they're trying to pilot the Wayback Machine and make everybody feel like they don't mean it's an instant collector's item, but that's what Stan used to say.
Mm.
Come on, what other books was called the world's greatest comic
magazine?
magazine?
When Stan said it was like Punk coming to AEW. When I read that solicit, it's like Punk coming to WWE. Same words, much different feeling.
Didn't he say hell froze over or something?
Yeah.
Well, they did. He was like he basically said the same exact things he said when he came to AEW. Only we know he's lying this time, so it sounded very false.
There was a couple guys in my class that were like, riffing on it, and I'm thinking, how long until he does something stupid again and leaves?
6 to 9 months.
Weeks. Yeah.
No, it's he'll get through WrestleMania because they I'm sure they signed him to do from all accounts he's going to wrestle Seth Rollins for the title at WrestleMania.
Rumor, at the first night that's the rumor.
So after that, no, all bets are off.
Right.
I'm not here to make friends. I'm here to make money.
Yeah.
Good outlook, dude.
You're definitely good at that, bro. It's fine. Don't worry about making friends.
And I know I shouldn't care, but it drives me nuts when these jabrones all talk about how they think Punk doesn't look like he's in shape enough to be a wrestler. I'm like,
whatever, man.
I'm like, dude, can we go through the history of wrestling? Like, go back and look at listen, Ric Flair's the greatest ever. Rick was never a fucking Adonis, dude.
Yeah, Dusty Rhodes.
Arn Anderson was a fat
Wahoo McDaniel.
Dusty Rhodes was always not only was he fat, but he had those
bad hair,
the pustules.
Oh yeah, the perm.
Yeah. I mean,
dude, pustules. My God,
he did. He had like growths on his belly.
It's I'm not grappling that guy. He's got something fucking living on him. No way.
You're gonna get pus on you if you wrestle him. Gross. Just lay down and pin me. I mean, again, I get it. Look, would it be cool if Punk was built like Randy Orton? Yeah, sure. But it's not like Punk's a puss though.
Yeah, but come on.
Punk's 6 foot, probably 200 pounds. He's in real life. I don't think he'd be
very few guys are built like Randy.
Especially right now. He just came back from a 2-year injury. He looks like a god, but
he's ridiculous. Yeah,
it's ridiculous.
All right, everybody, we love you so much that they, meaning David and Jason, are going to tell you right now.
So much.
We really do, and I'm going to show you how much I love you soon because it's almost December, and that means it's time for the EOC Video Advent Calendar.
That's crazy. To your credit,
don't know what I'm talking about. From December 1st through December 25th, just like an awesome chocolate-filled Advent calendar, I will do a video for the patrons
every day.
Erick.
And it will vary from maybe I'm at a cool place to an Ask Me Anything to a top 5 list about something random, like my top 5 favorite Tabasco sauces. Who knows? It's whatever comes to mind. There's no plan. I don't ever have I don't map out the stuff right. So it might be me pulling out a bunch of unopened toys from the closet that I'm never going to display and show them to you because I need to do something with them. It could be pulling out a random subject matter from my collection and saying, here's all of my Black Panther commissions. Who knows? It's whatever, whatever.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Because whenever I think Jason Wood, I think Tabasco sauce.
That's it.
Yeah, that's my point. I'm trying to.
I get it.
People keep guessing. You never know.
Yeah. I will say the smoky or smoked Tabasco is freaking delicious.
There it is.
Vinny brought that home earlier, maybe 2 weeks ago, and it is. We put it on everything.
I am compelled now, though that we threw this out, I may have to do a video about like my top 10 condiments.
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 Oh, there you go. Fun. And you know what? What I was going to say before was, to your credit, you have never completed an Advent string of videos and say, "Man, I'm never doing that fucking thing again. That was just too much." You've always
This
just
is Christmas,
right. You've always just weathered it. You do it. You have fun with it, and then you move on.
Yeah, love of Christmas, man.
Yeah, well,
Yep.
inject some Hallmark into your life. You would love it more.
I love the Hallmarks. I don't watch them nearly as much as you and Beth do,
Hallmark.
but I've never seen a Hallmark I didn't like. They're just, they're incredibly formulaic, but they hit the spot.
Oh, there's some shitty ones. Yeah.
I mean, like,
Well, I mean, it's based on long.
if you're like
Yeah.
if you're like Jason, you have to watch 5 Hallmarks or read Symbiote comics. I'm watching Hallmarks all day.
Damn.
Somebody.
Unless it's a
for it.
Toxin book, then I'll read that. Because Toxin's where it's at.
That's it for that one.